Live on a Tuesday, half asleep, awake till 3 a.m. Here we are, Sports Bass live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. What's up, everybody? Oh, my gosh. Epic last night. Epic. Maybe the greatest baseball game I ever watched. Might just be. That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. Riveting every single pitch of every single inning. Couldn't fall asleep. Shame on the people who couldn't stay up. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Josh, and Nuggets, and everybody else out there who could not complete the task. It ended about 2:53 in the morning when Freddie Freeman finally hit one out and won the game for the Dodgers. That game had a little bit of everything. It had defensive moments. It had mess-ups. It had decisions. It had bunts that didn't get done. It had a bunt that got down and then nothing happened. At one point in the game, Shohei Ohtani had been intentionally walked 3 straight appearances. He swung the bat in the 7th. He batted in the 17th and had not swung the bat for 10 straight innings at one point. They finally had a pitch to him, and they couldn't get out of the inning. The Dodgers were essentially going to pitch a position player in the World Series, which has never happened before. A position player has never pitched in the World Series, and that almost happened last night. At one point, when I thought about bailing out of the game at about 2:15 in the morning, I said to myself, I want to see what the Dodgers do here, because the reporting had been from Ken Rosenthal that he spoke to Dave Roberts between the innings. Roberts said that Klein was going to throw one more inning, and then they did not know what they were going to do, that basically they were probably going to pitch a position player, but didn't know which one they were going to go to. Well, then they had video in the dugout of Yoshi Yamamoto's interpreter talking to the pitching coach, Matt Pryor. And then Pryor going to Dave Roberts and saying, Yamamoto is volunteering to pitch. Think about this. You're in Game 3 of the World Series. It's the 17th inning. And the guy who threw a complete game 2 days ago is saying, I will volunteer to pitch if you need me. So Yamamoto starts warming up in that bullpen. Now, mind you, on the Blue Jays side, they are running out of pitching as well. They also were out of players. One of the players fouled a pitch off of, I guess it hit both of his legs. He was down, Jimenez. And at that point, Joe Davis said he cannot leave the game. They do not have anybody else to put in for him. They had run out of players because George Springer left the game with an injury. Bo Bichette, who's been hurt, got on base at one point. They ran for him, so he was out of the game. Alejandro Kirk reached base late in the game. They pinch ran for him, so he was out of the game. It was one of those games where if you wanted to turn it off, you just simply could not, because you knew you were watching something special. Josh, at what moment did you say, enough is enough?
So I was struggling.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
I was struggling the whole time. I could barely keep my eyes open. At one point, it was like 2:05 in the morning. I actually had to get up to go to the bathroom. I was like, well, I'm up.
So for me, what happened was it was some point in the 16th inning. Well, before the 16th inning, I actually laid down and just had like the app running, listening to the game, right? Because I figured, look, I can't keep my eyes open, but I'm not the kind of person, Mike, who falls asleep immediately. I'm the kind of person like I have to like gradually get there. So I figure if I lay down and listen to this game, I could probably keep up a little bit because I'm going to be awake still. Well, after Miles Straw struck out, I believe it was the end of the 16th inning, I passed out after that. Like
That's
I was done.
16th inning was your breaking point.
Yeah, and then you have your typical, you wake up 4 or 5 hours later to go to the bathroom, and then you're like, all right, what happened? And now you're like looking at all the alerts on your phone and be like, Freddie Freeman hit a home run.
I saw somebody tweet that they went to bed at 10 o'clock. They woke up at 2 to go to the bathroom, and this game was still on. In the 16th, yes, Straw struck out. Lauer came out. The Blue Jays went out 1-2-3 in the 16th. The Dodgers went out 1-2-3 in the 16th. Then they went to the 17th. This is about the time of the game where Klein, they had said this was going to be his last inning. Mm-hmm. He comes in, though, and he gets a 1-2-3 inning. Then the Dodgers actually get something going here in the 17th because they had a single with 2 outs, and this was a huge moment in the game. Call singles in the 17th. That means there's 2 outs, a runner on first, but the game-winning run is on first base, and now Ohtani comes to the plate. He had been intentionally walked the 3 previous at-bats. Ohtani reached base all 9 times last night. All 9 times Ohtani was on base last night. It's never happened before. He hit 2 homers and 2 doubles. He walked 3 times or 4 times because they pitched to him in the 17th, but they essentially pitched around him.
Right.
And he ended up walking. So now it's first and second with 2 outs, and Mookie Betts couldn't get the job done. Then we go to the 18th. Klein decides to stay into the game, or they decide to keep Klein in the game. I'm sure he was fighting to stay in the game. Now, mind you, Klein wasn't even on the World Series roster. The only reason he's on the roster is because Vespa ended up not being on because he has a personal situation going on.
Right. There was a personal family emergency that happened, so he had to run out of town.
So Klein, who was not even on the team at the beginning of the year, he wasn't on this roster. He had thrown 1 playoff inning. He is now pitching into like his 4th inning here. He ends up getting a line drive. He walks Guerrero. Then there's a fielder's choice. Guerrero is out at second base. It looked like a double play. They challenged it. They won the challenge. Varsho ends up walking. It's now first and second with 2 outs, and this is the spot where Kirk would have been up, and they have the backup catcher out there, and he strikes out to end the 18th. We go to the 19th. First batter up is Freeman. He hits the homer. But everywhere in between, they had something for everybody in this game. If you like pitching, you obviously got that. They didn't score for 12 innings last night.
Yes.
They scored in the 7th, and that was the last time anybody scored until the game ended. You had defensive moments. Edman threw a guy out at third. He threw a guy out at home. You had moments of long fly balls that looked like they were leaving the yard, and Varsho must have caught 3 or 4 balls with his back firmly planted on the wall at the warning track to end innings. How many times did a ball get hit and it looked like the Dodgers were going to have a walk-off and Varsho would run it down and casually catch the ball and bring it in?
Well, can I just say really quick? Also, with the game last night, there were multiple moments where you kind of felt like you were wondering whose chess move is going to bite them first. And
you kept thinking that it was going to be walking Ohtani.
You kept thinking it'd be either
because
walking,
one inning, by the way, they walked Ohtani
and Betts,
and then walked Betts.
Right.
So everybody who was wondering about walking Ohtani and that being a strategy, it seems that everybody's playing from the same playbook here.
Right. But the reason why I asked the question, Mike, is because as the game went on, all I kept thinking is, are there enough pitchers for this game?
Well, they threw over 600 pitches at one point during the game, so I don't know how many it ended up with. They threw over 600 pitches. The Dodgers were the first team in Major League history to use 10 different pitchers in a World Series game. Were they going to have enough pitchers? The Dodgers were essentially out. They were warming up Yamamoto to come in and pitch I guess it would be the 19th. The Blue Jays had today's starter, Shane Bieber, warming up to come in the game after a little. So they were now running out of pitchers. Think about this. Springer got hurt in the 9th. They put in France for him and then another hitter in Schneider for France. Springer had 3 at-bats, France had 3 at-bats, and Schneider had 3 at-bats. Schneider also got thrown out at the plate trying to score on a double. So you had the leadoff header, 3 different players in the leadoff spot for the Blue Jays. They each got 3 at-bats. The big problem there was Springer going down. That spot in the order came up 6 times, and they could not get anything going.
609 total pitches were thrown last night.
609 total pitches.
It's 48 more than any other postseason game since the stat was first tracked in 2000.
Think about this, though. Springer, who's your biggest clutch hitter, their leadoff guy, he left the game. Then you had Kirk, who was 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. He had hit a home run earlier in the game. He left the game. So Heineman came up 3 times and was 0 for 3. 6 times the Springer spot came up in the game. And then Bichette left the game. He was 2 for 4, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa came in and hit for him and was 0 for 4. So the Blue Jays were playing with like 2 hands tied behind their back in the extra inning session.
And you could argue that if any one of the guys you just mentioned, if Springer or Kirk or Bichette was still in the game,
they would have won.
They would have won the game.
There were so many times where Schneider came up late in the game, and
it felt like he came up every time they needed a hit.
He hit that ground ball to third, and Muncy, then they ended up having bases loaded,
right.
And then Lucas was on deck. He went 1 for 8 in the game. Vlad Guerrero went 2 for 7. I mean, think about this. Clement, 1 for 8. I mean, they just could not. How many players? I think it was over. The Blue Jays left 19 on base. The Dodgers left 18 on base. 609-403-0973. Text board is open. Did you watch Game 3 of the World Series last night? It's the poll question. Yes, but not to the end. No, I did not. Yes, till 3 a.m. It ended at 2:53, I think, was the actual ending of the time. So, Josh, you would be a yes, but not to the end.
Correct. I'm looking for this poll right now so I can vote in it.
Yes, but not to the end right now. No, I'm surprised at the amount of no's, actually. How did you not get all the way, at least watch some of the game? I went Sixers last night. We're going to get into them. Paul Hudrick today at 3:25. I went Sixers, watched the whole Sixer game.
I'm going to assume, looking at the poll results right now, because I just voted yes, but not to the end, I'm going to assume that the people who are saying no are the people who watched the Sixers game and went to bed.
Or went to football.
They watched the football because they had either betting or fantasy football implications and then went to bed.
I just don't know how, you weren't, picking it up. There had to have been, I don't know, maybe people's social media feed's different from mine. But, if you didn't have that game on, you had to have been this game is still going. They've walked Ohtani 3 times. It was unbelievable. And every time that the Ohtani situation came up and they would walk him, you were they're finally, Betts kept coming up. Then they walked Betts as well. And then Freeman came up. You were thinking, one of these times it's got to bite them. It did not bite them at all. There were so many different things that are popping into my head. The Edman throw from right field to the plate. Now, Snyder's out by a mile, but the third base coach sending Snyder in that situation when Vlad Guerrero's on deck, that's a huge moment in the game. There's the play where Edman makes the throw to throw the guy out at third, and that play was actually kind of close. That was Heineman, but he got, oh, man, it was everything last night. That game was awesome. And then they got to play again tonight. They're playing tonight in a couple of hours, and Ohtani is now the starting pitcher. So Ohtani last night.
Should they have hit Ohtani last night?
Oh, because Vic Fangio thinks they should have plunked them?
For those who didn't hear it, so we'll play the Fangio presser later, but Fangio basically said before the presser officially started today that instead of walking Ohtani, they should have hit him because his right arm is his lead arm.
Well, there were some people wondering whether or not Ohtani would have been the guy that they were going to bring in because they said they were going to have to go to a position player, and they did not know who that position player was going to be.
So I don't know if you heard the same thing I heard, but I was listening to, I think it was either Jeff Passan or who's the other guy, Jesse Rogers. It was one of those two. But they were basically saying that they expected either Rojas, who moved to second base at one point for the Dodgers, or Kike.
I hated that move.
Or Kike Hernandez to come in to pitch if they had to go to a position player.
I hated that move. That was one move in the game. So everybody knows Kike Hernandez is the biggest pain in the ass.
Right.
So what inning was that, man? I mean, these all things.
They all blur together after a while.
Edmund was on base. He doubled in the 13th.
Right.
So now you got a runner on second with nobody out. Now, I can get it. Some people say you bunt him over. The problem with that is you're bunting him over for the 9-hole hitter. Okay? So they bunt Edmund over, but they pinch hit Rojas for Kike Hernandez. Now, here's two problems I have with that. One, Kike Hernandez is maybe one of the biggest clutch hitters in the history of the franchise. Right? Doesn't he have like the most game-winning hits, or he's like among the best?
Yeah, he's very
Dodger
high on those
playoff of all time. You're telling me that Kike Hernandez couldn't get a bunt down in that situation? You had to the point that you had a pinch bunt for him.
It was so weird.
So they pinch bunt. Miguel Rojas comes in the game, and he gets the sacrifice down. Nice bunt, he gets it down, and Edmund goes to third. But there's your problem. He goes to third, the 9-hole hitter comes up next, and he pops up to shortstop. So now you're back to square one where you have 2 outs. So what do? They intentionally walk Ohtani because Ohtani's run doesn't mean anything, and then they intentionally walk Betts. They loaded the bases for Freeman, and Freeman flies out to center field. But I would have much rather, if I'm the Dodgers, had Kike Hernandez take a swing in that spot. If he singles like he's done numerous times, Edmund possibly comes around to score and wins that game, and the game's over in the 13th. However, there was another time later on in the game where Rojas came to the plate, and you're thinking, man, I bet you would have liked Kike Hernandez coming up in this spot.
And by the way, that's also, if I get backtrack a minute, that's why the Freeman home run to win it was also so surprising, because he had moments earlier in the game where he didn't come through himself. So, like, him coming up in the 18th inning, I'm sure the Blue Jays were like, oh, we'll get him out.
Yeah, there was the 14th inning, the very next inning, by the way. Muncy walked, Teoscar Hernandez singled. So now you have first and second. Edmund pops up to second base. There's first and second with 2 outs at the bottom of the 14th. And who would have been at the plate? Kike Hernandez. You're telling me he would have had 2 chances to win that game and he would have came up small? No way.
Doubt it.
No way. There's no way I'm hitting for Kike Hernandez in that spot.
Which, again, goes back to the whole, there were so many moments in the game last night that you're just like, why did you do that? And it just makes me laugh because of the fact that how many times have we listened to, why did Rob Thompson do that all year?
Funny you say that. So I was listening to, did you watch the Netflix? You don't have Netflix right now, right? Oh, did you watch the Who Killed the Expos?
I haven't watched that yet. It's on my queue.
Okay, so David Sampson's a big part of that documentary, I guess you will, which is kind of odd because it's in French, but it's got dubbed over American
words.
So the words don't match the lips.
It's like one of those old Godzilla movies.
Yeah, well, it's like they do on Netflix now where, like, they're using shows from other countries, but they're dubbing in the English version.
Why was this made in another country, though?
Well, because they're French-Canadian.
Yeah, but French-Canadians know English, too.
Yeah, but they speak primarily French up there. Anyway, David Sampson is a big part of this whole Who Killed the Expos.
Okay.
He ran the team.
Right, he was part of the organization back then.
But I was listening to his podcast, Nothing Personal, with David Sampson.
Okay.
And in that, before he talks about the Expos documentary, he's talking about the game. And I guess it was game 7, it must have been that he was talking about, of the Blue Jays and Mariners. And in that, maybe we can find the audio, he is talking about the pitching decisions and how they were all mapped out before the game. Mm-hmm. So that the manager's getting all this grief because he went to Brizardo instead of Munoz in that situation. Right. And he was saying that this is all, like, has been all mapped out before the game, yada, yada, yada. I was listening to that actually on my drive home from Ocean yesterday. I thought that was just an interesting point of him saying, like, and of all the situations, that what will we do in this particular situation? He said that situation was probably the first situation that they talked about. When they sat down in the boardroom before the game and they said, hey, if this is our situation, who are we going to? That's who they had planned to go to. But he said that particular situation was probably high on the list of situations that they talked about. 609-403-0973. Mike, I work in construction. I'm tired when I got home. I fell asleep in the 8th. I woke up in the 10th. I fell asleep the next commercial break. I woke up in the top of the 18th. I fell asleep in the commercial break before the walk-off home run. Amazing game. Cole from LBI. Cole, it was one of the, if not the, it's always hyperbole just to say that's the greatest game I ever watched. It's hard for me to even, come up with another one. I can't think of another game where I'm like, that one's right up there with. This game had everything. It had every decision. It had intentional walk. It had moments where you're like, you need to intentional walk this guy. There's video last night. Did you see this? Of Ryan Howard, Shane Victorino, I think Jimmy Rollins. They're all at the game, and they're all yelling, you got to walk him. You got to walk him. You got to walk him when Ohtani came to the plate. How many times, do you see back-to-back intentional walks? How many times has that ever happened? Back-to-back intentional walks happened last night. And you're pitching in the World Series with pitchers no one's ever heard of before. These guys were the bottoms of the barrel. These guys were the break glass in case of emergency guys. Lauer, Little, who came into the game and took the loss for the Blue Jays last night. Klein, where did they find that dude? He just looked like the guy who had never pitched before, and they're like, the position player, get on the mound. He was catching the ball and literally throwing a pitch within 3 seconds. They're like, he don't need a pitch clock. This guy was thrilled like he won something. 4 innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts for Klein last night. The pitchers for the Dodgers, Glasnow, Banda, Robleski, Trinan, Dreyer, Sasaki, Sheehan. Kershaw came in a huge moment. Oh, my God, we didn't even talk about that.
Oh, my God.
Kershaw came in with the bases loaded and 2 outs.
Can we talk about the video of his wife? Did you see that?
I did not. I saw it, but I didn't watch it.
Dude, the video of his wife, as he was pitching in that moment, she's about to have a heart attack. She's, so stressed. And when he finally got out of the inning, she starts crying.
Well, he had bases loaded, nobody out. Bases loaded, 2 outs.
We came in.
And by the way, the hitter swung at ball 4 3 times.
Yeah.
So that would have ended possibly the game right there because the Blue Jays should have scored. They should have had a walk-in run. Then who was the next pitcher after him? Was that kid came in throwing 102 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They got 4 innings out of Klein, 2 out of Henriquez. That's who it was. Sheehan threw 2 2/3. Sasaki threw 1 2/3. The fact that the Dodgers got multiple innings from multiple guys last night was huge. The Blue Jays threw Scherzer, Fluharty, Varland, Dominguez, Bassett, Jeff Hoffman threw 2, Fisher, Lauer came in and threw 4 2/3 late in the game, and then Little came in, and there is your game. Did you watch the whole thing last night? It's one of those games that everyone later on down the road will say, oh, my God, I remembered and watched that game. Right now, people are voting at Mike Gill Show. 30% say yes, but not to the end. 53% said no, they didn't watch the game last night. Man, that's crazy to me. And 16% said they watched all the way to the end of the game. Text in 609-403-0973. Coming up, before that game, there was another exciting game last night. The Sixers are 3-0, but they're doing it in an unconventional manner. We'll discuss coming up next as they beat the Magic last night without Joel Embiid. Embiid will play tonight. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. Paul Hudrick in an hour from right now joins us on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. World Series Game 4 tonight. I don't know how they're going to play again. It's crazy. They play tomorrow, too, by the way. They do play tonight and tomorrow out in L.A. Tonight it's Shohei Ohtani getting the start against Shane Bieber. So good pitching matchup tonight as well. Ohtani on base all 9 times last night. There was also a moment in the game where Ohtani was on second base and I guess got cramps. The training staff had to come out to attend him there. That was a part of the game last night, too. He got intentionally walked 3 times, unintentionally walked later on in the game as well. I don't really think they had all that much intention of pitching to him, which I don't know why they didn't just put him on the way the pitcher threw 4 pitches completely out of the zone last night. But I digress on that one. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN, Rock 104.1. We'll have it on right after the Flyers and the Penguins. Flyers-Penguins tonight. That is a 6 o'clock puck drop on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 free mobile app. So you can listen to the Flyers at 6, Sixers at 7. Sixers last night. Let's dive into them. So this VJ Edgecombe's pretty good. Just throwing that out there. The Sixers are 150,000 times more fun than they were a year ago. Does that mean they're going to win a title? I'm not saying that. Does that mean that they are really, 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 really good? I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is they are just more enjoyable to watch. Whatever happens because they're more enjoyable to watch, I can't guarantee. Are they going to be a 50-win team? I don't know. Are they going to win 60 games? I doubt it. Are they going to win 40 games? Maybe. Are they going to win 35 games? It's possible. But if anything, they are more enjoyable. They are worth your time. For a team that has been maddening and frustrating, and basically I can understand why many people have said, I want to write this team off. They are fun. They are fun. They lead the league in three-point percentage. They shoot almost over 40% from three-point range. Tyrese Maxey has a 40-point game now twice in 3 games. VJ Edgecombe is fearless. The audio we played yesterday from Austin Rivers, he's delusionally confident. They won a game last night without Joel Embiid, and some people will say Joel Embiid's cooked, Joel Embiid shot. That's not the point. They won another game without Joel. They asked Joel Embiid, hey, the team's better when you're not on the floor. And he says, well, it's only been 12 years. Thankfully, I don't know what's going to happen with Embiid. I really don't. My intuition tells me they are easing him back in. He doesn't seem thrilled about it, which would tell me he thinks he can contribute more. So far, when he's not been on the court, they've been better. I don't know what that means. But what it says to me is, for all the people who just despise Daryl Morey, and listen, I'm not telling you that you're wrong or right. You think how you want to think. They gave Embiid a contract that they didn't need to do. They paid Paul George, and I think the Sixer fan base was split on that. Most people were not all that thrilled with signing Paul George, and other people said, listen, I don't know what else you're going to do. He's the best player available. He's better than than Tobias Harris. So hopefully just adding him and getting Harris out of here, that would change something. It has not worked out. Those 2 moves can 1,000% be questioned. But if you're somebody that hates Morey that much and can at least say, you know what, those 2 moves really I did not like, but they are winning without those 2 guys. Now it's 3 games. Let's not throw a parade down Broad Street. But they've won 3 games with 0 contribution from Paul George and very little contribution from Joel Embiid. That would not happen at any point in any year. When Joel Embiid left the floor, they stunk. Tyrese Maxey has taken his game to the next level. And I've been critical of Maxey in the past of like, hey, listen, anytime Joel Embiid gets hurt and it's Maxey's team, everybody said, you got to turn the team over to Maxey. It's Maxey's team. That has not worked out well in the past. It's working out fine right now. Because why? He has a partner in crime. This VJ Edgecombe is a player. He is the antithesis of what Ben Simmons was. He is a dog. He wants all the smoke, all of it. And he will take it to you. What he lacks in size and height, he makes up for in athleticism and speed and determination and will, and he is a little out of his mind sometimes. He sees two defenders, and all he thinks is, I'm going to dunk it right in your face. His shot is way better than anybody could have envisioned at this point. It's one of the reasons why he was not highly regarded as Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper and, of course, Cooper Flagg, who, by the way, hasn't been very good so far for the Mavericks. In fact, last night, down the stretch, they came, and who was sitting on the bench? The number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg. So far through 3 games, the Sixers are exponentially more enjoyable. Does that guarantee anything? No, it does not. But what I would say is, if you are somebody that says this team is not worth my time, all I would say is just watch a game and see if you're more entertained. They lead the league in three-point percentage. They are among the top 5 teams in scoring. This isn't a team that is bogged down and slowed down and going. No, that's not this team. They are up and down and all around. And listen, again, I go back to the Morey stuff. I know there's a lot of people who think Morey's an idiot. He's never won anything. He stinks. Very entitled to your opinion. I'm not here to change it. What I would say is he drafted Maxey. That's worked out. If you like Jared McCain, he drafted him. He drafted VJ Edgecombe. If you watched the game last night, you're like, wow, this guy Bona, where did they get him? They drafted him in the 2nd round. They have found guys through the draft. He made mistakes with these contracts. He signed and put together a terrible roster last year. But you know what he said? I made mistakes. I got to get rid of these guys. Let me start over. And he quickly, by the way, with cap restrictions, handcuffed by the bad contracts that he signed, found guys, brought them in here, and drafted around them. Somebody said to me today, well, he's the 5th pick, top 5 pick. He better be good. Yeah, because that's a guarantee. There's never been a bust in the top 5. The Sixers right now seemingly have found the best guy of the 5. You know, there was a lot of discussion on, should they take Ace Bailey? Should that be the guy? Everybody thought Ace Bailey was the guy. So it took a little bit of stones, if you will. It took a little bit of stones to say, you know what? I'm not going to take the guy that everybody thinks we should take. I'm not taking that guy. I'm going to take the other guy that most people don't know as much about. So far, Ace Bailey has played 3 games. He's averaging 15 minutes a game and 2 points. The Sixers decided Ace Bailey's not the guy for us. Let's take this guy. And I think there's a lot of people who questioned that. There was a lot of people who said, you got to take Ace Bailey. He's the guy. And they said, no, I'm not taking that guy. I'm going to take the other guy. 609-403-0973. Mike, I've been critical with Morey, especially with the signings he has made. However, I do have to give him credit. He has made somewhat awesome draft picks. Yeah. I'd be critical of, look, the George deal, I was not a huge fan of Paul George signing. I really, I was at the point where I was like, listen, I think we all just wanted to get rid of Tobias Harris and felt that George was an upgrade over Harris, and therefore they should be better. Like, hey, if you just don't have Harris and you have George instead, he is better. But, and then quite frankly, I said before the season started, I don't even think this team needs Paul George to be good. I really don't. I don't think this team needs Paul George to be a good team. I'll see how he fits in. I'm intrigued by that. But I don't think they need Paul George to be a team that wins 45, 50. Now, you would say 45, 50 games. Who cares? You're right about that. You can feel however you want about what your expectations are for this team. Where they were last year was the worst season in the history of the franchise. If they win 50 games this year and make the playoffs and go to the 2nd round, I know everyone's going to be like, well, they always get to the 2nd round and let me down. This is a different team. This team is no longer the Doc Rivers, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, that crew can't get it done. This is now the Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain, who, by the way, hasn't even played yet. I think Jared McCain should be back in about 2 weeks, from what I'm understanding. And I think Paul George will probably be back next week. Trent Watford, who I like a lot, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, he is not the kind of player that's going to excite you, but Watford is the kind of player that this team has lacked over the years. He's a role player. He's a very good passer, distributor. He's 6'9". He can defend. He's athletic. He's one of those type of players that this team has just never had. The long, athletic guy who doesn't have to score but can shoot. You know, it's like I'm not the guy who's going to score 15 or 18 a night, but I can on the night you need me to. Those are the guys that this team has just not had. And it's a breath of fresh air to see VJ Edgecombe. I mean, it's one thing last year you had McCain. He was out there on a team that stunk, and he was lighting it up. VJ Edgecombe is part of the reason why they're winning. Down the stretch, late in games, he's scoring big buckets. Tyrese Maxey is emerging and maturing. He's had some big moments and big games, but now he's becoming a consistent late game presence because Joel's not there. They need him to be. I don't know what's going to happen with Joel. We're going to talk to Paul Hudrick about this. I want to get his thoughts on what happens with Joel, how he fits in, all that stuff. Because I do think Joel is a big part of this. They cannot win a title with this version of Joel Embiid. They might be fun. They might win a playoff round. But they're not going to win a championship unless Joel Embiid is some version close to Joel Embiid that we know. He doesn't have to be MVP Joel Embiid because I think Joel now can score about 15 to 18, hitting his jumpers, banging down elbow jumpers, foul line extended, all that stuff. They need him to be Joel Embiid on the defensive end of the floor. That's where they need him to really be Joel Embiid. 609-403-0973. Mike, I love VJ, but Maxey is on an MVP level. Yeah, last night he was shooting free throws, and the crowd was chanting MVP, and he said to Joel, I don't know how you do this, because he missed the first free throw. Did you see that?
I did. I just wanted to say really quick, I am so happy watching the Sixers team because it honestly, and this is something you and I have differed on over the years, Mike, this is the first time I've actually enjoyed watching the Sixers in a long time. Like, I know for some people like yourself and others, like, you know, and maybe part of the problem is I'm not much of a basketball guy as maybe you and others are, Mike, but those Ben Simmons and Embiid teams outside of like the Jimmy Butler year, I just didn't enjoy some of those teams. They were not enjoyable basketball for me. This team, they're fun, they're fluid, they're athletic, they have energy, they have everything I ever wanted a Sixers team to be in the last 25 years, but I rarely ever got it because the organization kept drafting big men year in and year out.
Well, listen, and like during those years, they were clunky, they were slow, they were unathletic.
Awkward.
I mean, Ben was a very good athlete up and down, but they just didn't fit. The Ben-Joel thing, it just never seemed to be magnified to the level you needed it to be because in large part because Ben was such a clunky offensive player.
But also, like, let's be realistic. A lot of things in sports and life, it's likability. It's not always who the best player is. It's the guy you enjoy watching. There was never a point in my life where I was like, I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Simmons tonight.
See, I disagree. There was a time where Ben was exciting and he was fun. Those first 3 years, he was up and down and exciting and fun, and his ability to handle and pass and find open guys. When they had the Bellinelli and Ilyasova team, and he would drive the lane and kick it out, and those guys were shooting, those teams were a lot of fun. But unfortunately, that lasted about 3 years when Ben became a problem because he just would not expand his offensive game. And here we are. They got a kid in Maxey who is lightning explosively quick.
Yep.
VJ Edgecombe, lightning explosively quick. They are leading the league in three-point percentage. Jared McCain should add to that. Quentin Grimes has fit in very, very good with this team. He understands and knows his role. He's a six-man. He's a guy who can score off the bench. They have some interesting pieces. How many people out there are giving this team a shot and are on board? 609 403-0973. When we come back, we'll update the poll question. Plus, in the 3 o'clock hour, Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers will join us. The Eagles, they get ready for their bye week here. What did Vic Fangio think about his defense? And we have 99 Bottles is back. Another chance for you to enter this hour. Listen for your cue to call today, every hour on the Sports Bash. 251, let me tell you about my friends over at the Nizam's Indian Restaurant. If the Eagles win, you win. It's a free order of spicy tandoori chicken wings for dine-in customers. When the Eagles win, mention this, that you heard it on the Sports Bash. Eagles win. They beat the Giants. They also have a great lunch buffet on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They also have a great banquet space that can seat up to 100 people for your holiday event, your holiday party, for private events and or celebrations. Check out the Nizams in Egg Harbor Township. Mike Gill, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Let's hit some text messages here. Mike, you give me the slightest hope, and I'm all in. Nothing better than when the Sixers are good. Going to be some bumps in the road, but I think by spring this team will be a force. That's from Gabe in Northfield. Yeah, I think there's going to be some bumps in the road, when they play some of these better teams. But the East is not all that deep. But how do they match up with some teams that are a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical? Mike, VJ and Maxey, both MVP levels so far. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because here's a stat for you with the VJ and Maxey. They have combined for 186 points this season. It's the most points by any starting backcourt through any of the team's first 3 games in a season since starters were first tracked in 1970. So they've been pretty good there. Here's something else for you that you can, I don't want to say get excited about. Do what you want with it. I'm here to provide you the information. You do what you want with it, right? Sixers are 3-0. They did not win their third game last year till November 22nd. They were 3-12 and started the year last year 3-14. Now tonight, I would imagine, let's look just to double check here, make sure I'm right on this. I would imagine the Sixers are a favorite tonight against Washington. Philadelphia is favored by 4.5. So they play tonight against Washington. Then Friday they play the Celtics. Now they've already played the Celtics and beat the Celtics. Can they beat the Celtics twice? That would possibly get them to 5-0 to finish the month of October. You on board? You hanging out? You going to watch Sixers basketball this season? Have they roped you back in? We'll talk about more Sixers coming up with Paul Hudrick at 3:25 right here on the Sports Bash. When we come back, the Eagles bye week, some of the self-scouting things. Vic Fangio, Kevin Petula. You'll hear them coming up next on the Sports Bash. But first, I need caller number 7 right now. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7. You are in for this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's in Margate. You must be present to win November 26th for the 99 Bottles party, where you could win Eagles, Bears, Club Box tickets, Black Friday, Lincoln Financial Field, Flyers tickets, Sixers tickets, concert tickets, and many, many, many more. 99 qualifiers, 99 winners at this year's 99 Bottles party. It's all brought to you by Maynard's in Margate. You must be present to win at Maynard's in Margate, November 26th. Caller 7 right now. Good luck. All right, coming up, we got Vic Fangio and Kevin Petula. You're going to hear from what the two coordinators say. Nakobe, Dean, Jihad Campbell, how is that all going to work out? John McMullen said yesterday on our show that he was going to ask about that. Well, he did ask about that. You'll hear what he had to say coming up in just a moment. Ringo, how that's going to work out moving forward at corner. I think that's a big question. How about Brandon Graham? Let's go to the Eagles' defensive mastermind, Vic Fangio, right now on the Sports Bash.
It's a good problem to have. They say Nakobe, Jihad was playing well. Nakobe's back. The word problems in that. How do you look at that position right now?
Yeah, part of what happened last week too was, we were down to 3 OLBs, and so, we got Jihad. He's been playing OLB and base, but then we wanted to teach him the nickel stuff too, in case we needed him there. So his week last week was choppy from a mental standpoint, in that learning a new position and learning new assignments that he hadn't been exposed to before because of our lack of guys at that position. So that played a part in him not playing as much. But overall, it's a good problem.
At corner, how did you feel Keeley played on Sunday? And I guess what's the plan moving forward once you get everybody back?
Yeah, he did play better. Plan moving forward, we got to see what JB looks like here in practice, what Adoree looks like coming off of his injury, and figure it out.
Do you like what you have with everyone healthy?
Yeah, we find a way to get it done.
Getting back to Jihad, what kind of...
What's that?
Getting back to Jihad, you said he was doing some nickel?
Nickel end.
Okay, and what made you decide to, see if he can handle that?
We were down bodies.
It was a different story with Jackson Dart this time around. But what was the key?
Well, he still gave us a lot of problems. He did only scramble, I think, for positive yards twice, but as you saw, he extended a lot of plays and caused problems that way. He's tough, but I think we did a little better job rushing overall. But I wouldn't say our rush, even though we did have 5 sacks, I think our rush could have been better.
Your run numbers have been better the last 2 games. Nakobe being in there, a correlation?
Maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't go too far on that.
What has it been then?
What's that?
What do you think has been the difference as far as run defense?
Minnesota didn't really try and run it a whole lot. We just played a little better. Run defense is an 11-man operation, including corners, and I think we just played a little bit better.
Is your opinion or outlook of the edge rusher core right now different than it was 2 weeks ago, the day that Tyrese retired, with Brandon coming back, with J-Lex kind of emerging and Nolan on his way?
Yeah, BG's working his way back into football shape, playing shape. Hopefully we get Nolan back here soon. So that's 2 guys that we haven't had since whenever Nolan went out. So, yeah, it's looking to be better. And, we're working Jihad there some. And J-Lex has played good all year, I think. Obviously, he's had his plays he'd like to have back. But he's a young guy who's progressing. So, we're in good shape there.
Is this the makeup of the room right now capable of doing what you want it to do the rest of the year?
It has to be.
Your interior linemen have 8 sacks. 3 different guys had a sack Sunday. What do you like about that group as far as getting to the quarterback?
Yeah, I think they're overall doing a good job. I think we can be even better. Maybe get some of those pressures and ultimately sacks, which everybody likes. To me, it's just, are you affecting the quarterback or not? Quicker in the down. Kind of like Jalen did on the J-Lex's interception in Minnesota.
I don't know how much you started preparing for Green Bay, but obviously you faced them twice last year. What kind of problems do they pose offensively?
They're really good on offense. They're really balanced. They run it well. They got one of the best backs in the league. They have a good scheme that they're committed to, and they do well. You know, LaFleur's the offensive coordinator. He calls it. He has good command of his offense. Quarterback has good command of it now. It's the only system he's ever been in. And you could see it. They do a lot of motion, a lot of movement. Good tight ends, good receivers, good back, obviously. They're a tough matchup.
Is there a benefit to having played the Rams already and having them running a similar offense?
Maybe, but not as much as you're trying to paint.
You spoke last year about a misconception about you playing younger players. And in Jalen Hunt's case, you got him on the field earlier than I think a lot of people expected. And now he has this prominent role this year. Was there something off the field that you saw, whether it was in the draft process, when you first had exposure to him, to make you think he could handle this, even though he didn't have that type of background at the position?
Yeah, we liked him in the draft, obviously. We took him in the third round, I believe. But we did like him in the draft and did like his potential. In spite of his lack of background, what we saw that in the draft process is proven to be true. And he's just going to get better and better the more he plays.
How have you assessed Reed Blankenship's play so far this season?
It's been good. You know, he's been kind of a rock back there. You know, he's got a rookie safety next to him. You know, his importance to the defense is more than just what you see from the playing part of it. You know, he's the signal caller back there and keeps everybody calm.
The timing of the bye week relative to the trade deadline, is that advantageous for you in the fact that maybe you get to watch more tape of prospective trade prospects?
No.
What is your role in in that with Howie when it comes to
Minuscule.
One more on Keely. I know you like Keely and you've spoken highly of him, and the inconsistency, like how do you get through that? Because he obviously has ability, he can run, he's got size. How do you get that to be consistent?
He just needs to play, you know, and practice, you know, and become a more instinctual football player and understand what's happening quicker, faster, and not be surprised by things.
Has Uchi exceeded your expectations at all?
I wouldn't say that. I would say neutral.
When you look at the defense overall, like, how would you assess the way, you know, you guys have played through the first 8 games? Is it kind of like, did you kind of see it at the beginning of the year as like a work in progress, something that would take time to kind of develop?
Kind of. You know, outside the first Giants game, where we didn't play well at all, I think we've given ourselves a chance to win in every game. And 6 of those 8 we did. So 75%, we were good. You know, I think people, you know, and we all do, get hung up in league stats and stuff, but you really just need to be the best defense on the field you're on and not worry about what 30 other teams are doing.
Cooper Jean's obviously a pretty unique player in terms of where he plays and how you utilize him. What you saw in the evaluation process versus what you see now, does he remind you of someone now that you've had him in terms of where he plays and how you?
No, he's, you know, we got very lucky that he lasted till the middle of the second round. And I think the reason he did, because he only played corner in college, at least his last year. And I don't think everybody was sure, was he a first round corner, second round corner, third round corner? I don't think the league as a whole had a feel for his versatility because he didn't play it in college. And, you know, he's really a damn good nickel, probably one of the best nickels in the league. And we're playing him at corner in the base. He could play safety if we needed him to. He's a defensive back, but really he's just a good football player.
Vic, how did Brandon look to you in practice his first week back?
He did okay. I thought he did better than I thought he would. Just from the looks of it. So I'm thinking here eventually he'll be able to contribute to us.
If I can follow up on Cooper, if he has the skill set to be one of the top two corners, what makes you want to keep him in the slot? Is it because he's so exceptional in that role? Did you consider having him full time on the outside?
We considered it, yeah. But, when you have one of the better players at a certain position, and it's an important position where you get involved more, you hate to take a really good player at one position to maybe not be as good a player or impactful of a player at another position. But it's definitely something that we've talked about.
Is the school of thought that it's easier to find a slot than an outside corner? Is that incorrect?
All right, there's Vic Fangio. By the way, he was asked that question by Zach Berman. Fangio said, no, that might be correct, but we haven't solved that here yet. He was getting asked about Cooper DeJean playing. Is it easier to find a slot corner than an outside corner? So, we'll see what ends up happening with that cornerback slot. That has kind of been a big story leading to the bye week for me. Who will be the number 2 corner when they come out? Brandon Graham, he did okay. But the stuff with Jahad Campbell at the beginning, we'll talk more about that coming up later on during Football at 4. Adam Caplan will be with us. But let's take a look at what the offense looks like. Offensive coordinator Kevin Petula, they got the running game going. What changed there? Also, how Fred Johnson has played a part in this Eagles offense. That was talked about as well. And Tank Bigsby, will he get a bigger role in the offense? Let's hear from the Eagles offensive coordinator. Here is Kevin Petula.
That running game, what changed this week to get it going?
I think when you look through the whole season up to this point, we've been close on a few things, and then just continue to work in the direction of knowing, we want to run the ball and complement that with the other things that we have going on. It's just kind of a matter of time. The guys did a really, really good job of just executing and doing everything they can to prepare for the different looks we might get. So it was good. It was a good thing to kind of have it go the way it went and build to this point. We knew we were really, really close, and it's exciting to see. It adds another element to our offense, obviously.
How much of those heavy packages, when you put Fred as sort of the extra tight end, how much does that help get some of those double team blocks?
Well, I think when you do stuff like that, right, you just add another element to the offense. So when you bring in a different personnel package, you're opening up to what could be, a variety of different things, whether it's play action passes, runs, dropbacks. So when you do that, you can kind of put the defense in a different spot to where now you're saying like, hey, you have to prepare for this. We're going to have something for you. So I think it definitely helps the offense as a whole. Not just the run game, but it gives you a different dynamic. It's not something we've done, so it's kind of been a new thing for us going forward.
And then Jalen's ability to throw deep while also keeping the ball out of harm's way. How does he do that? Those are high risk generally, throwing deep, but he doesn't get picked off. What goes into that?
I will say this, he's unbelievable at it. Like, he does a tremendous job of understanding where to place the ball, seeing the coverage, knowing how to put it in a spot to where it's our guy or nobody. And he really works at it. If you watch, I know you guys aren't out there the whole time. When you watch practice, he works at it in between periods, during the period, like constantly he's talking to the guys. Here's where it's going to be. Here's what I'm going to do. So I think it's those little extra things as far as him with the receivers and the tight end just being on the same page and just working through it and constantly looking for an area to improve on. And when he gets the opportunity to hit it, he does. He does a tremendous job. Catchable. It's fantastic to watch. And it opens up a lot of areas, in the offense. So when you can start hitting those, and all of a sudden the runs start to go and other things start to open up.
You haven't seen much of the screen pass, at least, slower developing screens out of this offense over the years. Why did that one work this week? And what do you like about it moving forward?
I think just in general, you always look to try to get them in. It depends on what the defense does and what they're kind of giving you with whether they'll develop or not and what type of screen you want to put into the plan. And so each week we try to find a few if we can. And then, it's just a matter of finding the right spot to kind of get those called to where they can be successful.
After the game, Saquon said that what defenses are doing is trying to take away space in the run game. How are they doing that this year? And And on Sunday, how were you able to sort of counteract that?
I think each week it's looked a little different. Like the Vikings tried it the week before, and depends on what their structure of their defense is. You can do it with, more guys, at the line of scrimmage. You can blitz people from the edge. You can bring backers. So it's been different every week because each defensive coordinator has their own philosophy. So when you look at that, I think it just comes down to what they want to do. But obviously it is a way to stop the run game, but it does open up windows behind is kind of what's happened the last couple of weeks. So it's just that balance of kind of coming in and out of the passes and the runs. But, each defense kind of has their own unique way of getting to that, building one line of defense, basically.
You didn't have Maxey during training camp. Were you as aware that he was as powerful as he appears to be?
In the short time we've had him, his explosiveness is evident. Like you can see it in practice, whether it's drills, team periods, whatever he was doing. So you knew he had it. We had watched tape on him before, so you could definitely see it. To see it in person was obviously a little bit different, but it was exciting. It just adds another element to our offense, another dynamic player that Saquon needs a blow, and he gets tired for a second. We can go back out there with Tank and keep it rolling.
What it play ended up not going against you, the tush push, where they stripped the ball. Would you prefer that Jalen doesn't reach out? I mean, what's the coaching point on that?
It's tricky because it was a fourth down. You would like to get the first. We just got to be careful with that in that capacity. And going forward, it's just kind of, we just got to be cautious as far as making sure we get the first, knowing you get the first and not putting the ball in harm's way.
Getting back to you mentioned the different looks that you're getting to take away space. Is there one particular look or structure of defense that you've struggled against in the run game more than others?
Not really. It's so different. We've seen so many different defenses to start the year up to this point, and really good coordinators. And we've seen some of the best defenses up to this point, and guys that have been doing it a long time, between Todd Bowles and Brian Flores and Spags and all those guys. So it's pretty much been different every week. And I think going forward, it'll kind of be a similar pattern. We'll get something different from people. There hasn't really been one thing specifically. I think it's just kind of a philosophy. And if you look around the league a little bit, I think with the cover twos and stuff like that, everybody's kind of doing similar things with the personnel that they have. The Giants have a really good front seven, obviously, and so their personnel is a little bit different than some of these other fronts we'll see.
What'd you think of Brett Toth's performance?
He played really good. He played really, really good. I mean, the guy's extremely smart. He's detailed. He comes to work every day. He works his butt off constantly in the classroom. He asks really good questions. He's out in front of things. He wants to know the plan inside and out, and you can feel his detail and his energy out there. So that's the biggest thing for him is you could tell that he wants to be good in every area and do anything he can for this team. And he put a lot of effort into it. So it was really good to see.
As far as Dallas in the red zone, what makes him so dangerous? He's got, I think, 7 touchdowns, which is already a career high for him. Like, what makes him, someone you guys want to go to?
Just his ability to get the ball in the end zone, right? He's a big guy that can, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to score. And so when you feel that, you want to get him the ball and use him in any way you can. And it's been a variety of different things. It's not been one thing he's scored on. So I think just he's dynamic with the ball in his hands, and that's why you want to continue to give him the ball.
You and Nick have been good over the years at making big in-season adjustments. In your experience, what's like the key as a coach to finding a problem, but then when it's practice week, all the time, to like implementing that type of change in season?
So I think it started yesterday, right? And even that mini bye, Nick does an unbelievable job of having this very detailed process that we go through as coaches. And so what it does is it basically allows you to go through from every phase of what we do, what we're getting, and where we need to go. And it's basically a process to where, yes, we're good in an area. How do we get better? Or what's going on? Why are we good? What's the next step to being, continuously evolving in this area? So I think it starts with the process that we've had in place for a while. And then it takes a while to kind of work through that. Like we're in the process of it right now. We're on a quick lunch break, and as soon as I go back up there, we're ripping back at it. And so I think that process of just going through everything, every phase, the plays, the combination of how these plays are kind of working together, the packages, the situations, and truly being honest. Like you can't get better unless you're honest, right? So we can say all we want, yeah, that play worked fine, but was there a breakdown? Could we be better at it? And so what's the next step for that play? And so I think that's where it really starts, and we've done a good job of that. And then simplifying it so that when the players come back and we come back, we know like, hey, this is what we want to do from this standpoint going forward, and slowly kind of getting it in each game plan, because you can't do it all at once. Can't fix it all at once. If you do too much, then you kind of become all over the place. So I think it starts with Nick and kind of what we've done over the years, and we've kind of had a good recipe for how to look at what we're doing on both sides of the ball and improve from there.
We didn't see again a design quarterback run. Didn't need it as much, but after 8 games, this is kind of a thing. Clearly, is this a conscious thing?
No, I would say it's conscious. I think it just really comes down to, like, do we need it? Do we want to do it? Does it present itself? I think there's different ways you can get around that. We've used different plays in that capacity too that have kind of led to explosives in different games where we've gotten the ball on the perimeter. So I think it's not something that's definitely on purpose. It just kind of happened that way. And the way the game unfolded the other day, we really didn't need it, and so we just kind of kept going.
As much as you might call it outside noise, you're a savvy guy, and if nothing else, you hear the nature of the questions each week. How have you dealt with the scrutiny, the spotlight of being an OC during the past 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think really, it comes with the territory. I totally understand that. But really, it's all about just winning games. And we know, we have a really good, talented team, and we're going to stick together, and we, live to our core values, and that's what we want to do. So it's been fun. I mean, the players have been all into it. The energy's been super high, no matter what's been going on. We have not wavered from that standpoint. We're always looking ways to get better and improve on everything we do. So, obviously we know we want to continue to improve on anything and everything we can to get to the point, at the end of the season. But I feel like we're improving on certain things in a good spot. And, like I said, it comes to the territory, but I totally accept that and ready to keep moving on.
As that questions come up to Nick, he's talking about mental toughness in your case. How would you explain, I don't mean to be deep, but how would you explain your mental toughness in that role?
I think you just got to understand totally, as being in this role, is like, my job is to make sure the player's in the best position at all times. And we're detailed in everything we do, and there's no, stone unturned. And so by doing that, you have to consume yourself with absolutely everything you can for the team, for the organization, to do the best you can and put the best product out there to win the game, at all costs. And so you really have to kind of block things out and understand that's part of it. Like, I totally get that. It doesn't bother me in that respect. So you just kind of have to continue to march forward and understand your job is to put everybody in a great position to win the game and do everything you can to make sure we're all on the same page. And our goal is to win the game. And so that's kind of what you got to go with.
How has Jalen developed as a quarterback who throws from under center off play action?
I think really just his willingness to work. Like, the guy works at everything extremely hard, right? And the reps that he'll take, and he asks good questions and seeking, like, hey, what else can we do? Can I do more? And so I think that's the biggest thing. Like, he wants to do new things. He wants to get better and challenge himself and do new things to add to the offense, because it just makes him more dangerous. I think he's proven that the last couple weeks with this kind of new thing that we've been messing with, where he can do it from a different capacity, and that's been really huge for our offense.
What was that experience?
Numbers are better this year than they were a year ago. Obviously, Mike is a big part of that, and he's making plays as an individual. What is he opening up for the rest of the guys on their defense?
I think really he's so dynamic in everything he does, and they move him around a lot to where you got to pay attention to him. But they have a really good group of guys in general. Like, their front seven's really good. They're playing really good team football right now when you watch them. So I think just as a whole, I think he brings the energy up, and there's the demand for who he is, just elevates everybody around him.
What was that experience like for you as a play caller, where everything was flowing in the pass and the run game against New York?
I think, we knew we were close as an offense in certain games, and there was a few things we just need to kind of continue to work through, and to feel that was good. It was a good sign. And we understand, like, throughout the rest of the year, we're going to have some ups and downs, just how it works. But we also know we were trending in the right direction and what we're capable of. So we just got to continue to push through that and add more layers to it and see what else it can bring us.
There's Kevin Batola. Yes, we were starting to get into the flow offensively. I like what he said earlier about when talking about the running game and what changed. He says, I think when you look through the whole season up to this point, we've been close on a few things, and they finally got one to go. That offensive line being a big part of that, he acknowledged as well. Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Hey, don't forget, 99 Bottles, when you hear the sounder go off this hour, Todd in Northfield was our first qualifier. Who's going to join Todd at this year's 99 Bottles party? Listen for that cue to call coming up on the Sports Bash. Hey, coming up, Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers on last night's Sixer win, and the 3-0 Sixers. They play tonight against the Wizards right here on 97.3 ESPN. 331 Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. 3 o'clock hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, your trusted source for plumbing and heating service installation for generations. Call them right now, 609-390-3907, online, broadlees.net. Sixers tonight taking on the Wizards. You can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis on the call at 7 o'clock. Looking to make it 4 straight. Joel Embiid will be back, but the Sixers win last night with no Joel Embiid. We'll get into that and more right now. Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers. 3 games more fun than any game last year. This season is already 150,000 times more fun than at any point last year, Paul Hudrick. But is it sustainable without the big man? We'll get into that. What was your takeaway from Embiid's comments on Saturday night, obviously showing some frustration, and how that kind of manifests with what's going on? This team's obviously playing well without him. He said, oh, thank God, it's only been 12 years. But do you think that story supersedes everything that is happening positively with this team?
No, not at all. So look, Joel Embiid is a basketball player. And despite what some people say about him not wanting to play, being lazy, whatever, the guy wants to play basketball. Isn't this what everyone wants, right? Isn't this what everyone says they want Joel Embiid to be? Oh, he's not hungry enough. He doesn't want it enough. Here he is getting a minutes restriction, and he's actively saying, I don't want this. I want to play. But I will say, Mike, there was plenty in his tone, and he said it, to start the year, like, I'm going to listen. Like, if they're going to tell me, hey, we think it's better if you stay around this, he's going to listen to it. And I get the frustration, too, because you can tell his biggest thing was he is a rhythm guy. He is a rhythm player. So it's hard for him to build that rhythm when it's only these 5-minute spurts, 4 times in a game. That's a really difficult thing to do, and I don't think people understand for anyone how difficult it is, and especially for a guy like him who can be so methodical and the way he plays, it can be difficult. So I just took it as, to me, again, in a way, I kind of took it as a positive, like, okay, like he feels good, like he wants to play. He wants to play more. I view that as a good thing. I didn't view it as he's like demanding they take a minutes restriction off, or like there were times in the past where I felt that, but I don't feel that here. I feel like he is and look, he was in the locker room last night. He was in a great mood. He's watching the World Series while the other guys were getting showered and get ready to head to DC. Like, he's happy they are winning. So like, I certainly don't think that his comments, are above anything that's going on with the team on the court.
Well, my question wasn't in a negative way. I guess mine is more how he will fit in around everything that's happening with this team. They're winning games that they would never win in the past when he's out. Like, they lose those games, right? When he doesn't play, they lose. They're winning games. The opening night, they were losing on the road and came back without him. Saturday night, he played well offensively. Defensively, still, obviously, he's not the same guy. They win that game. Then last night, they pretty much went wire to wire, and he didn't play at all. So you're starting to see that where does he fit in? And then you got Bona jumping all over the place, blocking shots, taking alley-oops, getting putbacks, and you're thinking, man, the athleticism of Bona, and you're trying to picture where would Embiid fit with everything that's going on here. I think it's more of the fit aspect than him not being happy with the situation right now.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the fit. It's not going to be clean. Like, it's going to take them some time. They're going to have to figure some stuff out. But the fact that he's already been so like, again, I keep pointing back to that preseason game that he played. He had 8 assists in 19 minutes. Like, he's going to find guys if they're open, and they're going to be open because he still has gravity. Like, the defense still rotates to him. And I think, Mike, another maybe, like, if you're looking at it, how what is going on can positively impact Joel Embiid. Well, now you have Tyrese Maxey scoring 40 points in 2 of 3 games. You have Edgecombe averaging over 20 points a game. You can't, if you shift to Joel Embiid on double teams on every possession, now you got Maxey, you got Edgecombe, you got Quentin Grimes, you got Oubre, who had a great game last night. You got Jared McCain coming back. So, like, in a way, I think it might actually be a positive because the defenses aren't going to be able to just collapse on him like they always have in the past. And if they do, this team is more than capable of busting up those double teams and making teams pay. So, like, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be an adjustment, but in the end, I think when we're talking about integrating a former MVP, and I get he's unique and I get he's different, and it's, the styles are conflicting, all that. But I think when you're talking about a player as talented as Joel Embiid, if he could even be, I don't know, 75% of what he was with this team, then we're talking about not just like, oh, this is fun, and this is really they're fun to watch. We're talking about this is a team that could maybe make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, listen, they're obviously got a lot of action in the backcourt. Their two guards are fantastic. Maxey, 40 points, not once but twice this year. Edgecombe, we played a clip yesterday from Austin Rivers that said that he was like, what was the term that they used, Josh? For we'll play the audio for you, but here we go. This is what Austin Rivers said about VJ Edgecombe.
VJ's delusionally confident.
Yeah. Delusionally confident
He
is the word that he used for him. Delusionally confident. And he was telling a story about how he was like a junior in high school, and he walked into, one of the practices and was like, I can beat you one-on-one. And, like, he really believed in his head at that time. But you could see it in his game. Like, he's going one-on-two between two defenders. He's like, I'm going to just dunk it on you two boys. I don't care whether you get out of my way or not. Like, so those two guys have given this team a confidence about them. And you're just wondering, like, how does it all come together when McCain is back? And where does George fit in? And I know you and I have liked Watford as well. And it's almost like, wow, this is going to be interesting to see how they put this together.
I was just going to say, we're talking about a team that is 3-0, that has two guards playing at a ridiculous level. And we're worried about how do you integrate a former MVP, a 9-time All-Star, and a guy who would have run away with Rookie of the Year last year had he not gotten hurt. That feels like caviar problems to me, Mike. Like, I am not as, like, let this, like, and I think, too, like, we always do that. I know you and I are also getting paid to react to things as well, but, like, I think sometimes we can all be a little too reactionary, and it's like, all right, well, maybe just enjoy this, and then when those problems arise, you can kind of, you can kind of take them on. But again, to me, it's a caviar problem. You're talking about integrating really talented, really good players into a very fun and exciting team.
We're talking with Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers. The Sixers are 3-0. Last year they won their third game November the 22nd. I think you tweeted that out. They were 3-12 at that point. They got to 3-14. They'll play the Wizards tonight. Joel will be back. We'll see that. What happens behind Joel? Are you interested by how they handle the Drummond, Bona? Is this based on matchups? Who's the guy that they prefer to get those non-Joel minutes?
First of all, again, speaking of caviar problems, you have two centers now playing well behind Joel Embiid. This has never happened in the Joel Embiid era. So, like, first and foremost, that's great. Now, I would say Bona, I didn't think he was overly effective in the first two games at all, and it reflected in his minutes. And Nick Nurse even kind of said before the Orlando game last night, like, we need more out of him. We need more activity at the rim. We need him to be more active. You got it last night, man. Nick Nurse joked. He said, what did he have, like 17 blocks last night? And it felt like it because he only had 3 on the stat sheet, but he was affecting everything Orlando got to the rim. And then, Drummond, he was, I'm not even being hyperbolic. He was fantastic on the second half on Saturday. They do not win that game Saturday night without Andre Drummond. That's how good he was. And he was solid again last night, too. I do think, to what you said, I do think some of it's going to be matchup based. Now, this is the second half of a back-to-back. Adem Bona's a young man. Andre Drummond's a veteran. So I would expect and I would anticipate that Bona maybe gets more of those minutes. Could Bona see some time at the 4 now? Now that you have 3 healthy centers and you feel good about Drummond, do you maybe put Bona and Embiid together to maybe help Embiid out a little bit? I don't know. We're going to have to see. So I think it's going to be certainly matchup dependent, going to be how the guys feel. I think Bona is going to get a lot of time just from the sheer fact that he is young, that he is energetic, and you have Joel Embiid with his health concerns and Andre Drummond, also a veteran guy who had a lot of health concerns last year. Although, again, he has looked very good and in very good physical shape through 2 games.
So when they all are back here, do you Paul George obviously starts. I mean, he's not coming off the bench. So it's going to be Joel, Paul, Maxey, VJ. Who's your ideal 5th guy? Is that Oubre, or is there someone else that they might go Oubre, but you like better?
So I think it'll be Oubre, and I'm okay with it because you have so much shooting surrounding it that you can get away with having it. Although Oubre's actually shooting it extremely well to start the year. I was 2 of 6 last night, but he was like 4 of 10 coming into the game. So, like, he's actually shot it pretty decently. But he also does, when he's in a lineup that has other shooters, he does well. You know, he's a good cutter. He's just a good off-ball player, so he can do some of that. But I think from a defensive standpoint, I like the idea of Edgecombe, Oubre, Paul George. Like, that's really fascinating to me to have those 3 guys kind of interchangeably playing the wings. That's where I think that's where Nurse goes, and I'm okay with it. With that said, would I maybe like to see Jared McCain in there at the 2 and bumping Edgecombe down to the 3? Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that. I wouldn't mind seeing Quentin Grimes as well. But I think at the same time, Grimes has looked pretty good as kind of being that kind of spark plug off the bench. The guy comes in, gives you some instant offense. He's looked pretty good in that role. And look, Jared McCain, I'm very confident that he can fill his very similar role in doing that.
Well,
so,
those 2 guards are playing 40 minutes each, so McCain's going to have to cut into some of those.
Absolutely.
But you can't play those guys 40 minutes a night.
And that's the other thing, too, Mike, when we're talking about, how do we integrate these guys? But Nick Nurse even said it last night. He views it as a good thing because, again, you have these veteran guys. Like, you don't want Paul George playing 40 minutes. So now you can play him maybe around 30 minutes and give these 3 guard lineups or even 4 guard lineups if you want to include Oubre playing the 4, some of those looks. And so you don't have to play George those big time minutes. Oubre's been playing a lot too. Maybe you scale him back a little bit. So I think
Oubre played 40 minutes last night too.
Right. And because he was great. I mean, that might have been his best game as a Sixer. So I think Nurse made the right decision to do it. But then there's going to be nights where Oubre doesn't have it. So on those nights, this optionality is a really good thing. Having all these different players that kind of, can contribute all these different things. I mean, Eric Gordon, for God's sakes, Eric Gordon looked good in his 10-minute stint last night, hit a couple big threes. So suddenly this looks like a team that has a lot of depth, that has a lot of guys that can contribute on a nightly basis. And again, I think Nick Nurse, if you ask him, he would tell you that is a wonderful problem for a head coach to have. Too many good players and not enough minutes for them all.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It will be interesting to see how they all fit the pieces together. And then obviously you'll get Paul George back. When is your estimation? A week, would you say?
So I'm surprised Shannon Watford's coming back tonight. I mean, there was really no indication. Like, he was practicing in full, but so was Paul. Paul George actually got back to practice before Watford. So, I don't know. I can't really – I guess we'll know more when they're likely going to have the day off tomorrow, but we'll practice Thursday. So maybe then we'll find out. But yeah, I'm not sure when I'll come back.
McCain I know he's shooting the braces off, probably 2 weeks. McCain.
Yeah, I mean, so he was reevaluated, and that's when he was allowed to take off the splint and shoot with the wrist brace on. So he's probably not that far off. The fact that he had a upper body injury, the positive there is, you can still work out. You can still keep your legs fresh. You can still keep your fitness level up. So for him, it's probably just going to be a matter of rhythm, and then just getting, contact again, being in those 5-on-5 live practices and getting bumped a little bit and seeing how that thumb takes it. So, yeah, I don't think that George or McCain are very far off at all, but I'm just not positive when.
I actually like Wofford in that last spot in the starting lineup. I don't know if they're going to go there, but I like his passing, man. I think for him to be a facilitator at his size, doesn't need to be a guy who takes shots with all the offense around him. Let kind of Oubre go to that second unit and play with that group of guys. That second unit can get up and down and score. So Wofford seems to me, with the Embiid and George maybe slowing things down a little bit, having Wofford as kind of a facilitator. We'll see. I didn't know he was playing tonight. I had not seen that yet, but all right, I'm happy to hear that. They'll play Washington tonight. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Jabari Walker's given him minutes. Barlow, I thought, gave him some nice stuff. Yep. There's more depth here than there has been in maybe. Josh asked me today, in the Embiid era, is this the most depth this team has ever had?
It's only 3 games, but it kind of feels that way. Yeah.
Well, there's more questions and puzzle pieces to put together than I can remember.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I will still keep saying I think it's a pretty good problem to have too many guys that you think can contribute on a nightly basis and trying to find the minutes for them.
All right, Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers, and the team over there has got plenty of coverage on the Sixers 3-0. They'll play the Wizards tonight. You can listen to the game. Tom McGinnis on the call on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, man.
You got it, man.
There he is, Paul Hudrick, everybody. And, of course, the Sixers back tonight. You can listen to the game here on 97.3. All right, we got that. We got the unsportsmanlike moment of the day coming up, plus football at 4. And don't forget, 99 bottles. When you hear that cue to call, Be the seventh caller at 609-573-3776. We have more Sports Bash coming up.
If you want to go trade him after the season, that's fine. They can explore that then. But I would be really, really surprised if he was traded before the trade deadline. Again, in the off season, anything's possible. Roster is always reviewed. He's made a lot of noise. Could something happen then? Yeah, I could see that. That's possible. Could I see it happening by this trade deadline? I don't. Now, there are always surprises, but I'm not forecasting nor expecting.
Lives and select pre-owned RVs. Shop now before they're gone. White Horse RV. Your RV adventure starts here. So I wanted to bring this up one more time because I think all this AJ Brown, Bryce Harper stuff is just nonsense. I mean, I don't know how it got to this point, but Bryce Harper is now mad because of what he potentially thinks he heard about the possibility of the Phillies potentially wanting to possibly trade him, because some idiot said, oh, I think the Phillies might want to trade. No, the Phillies do not want to trade Bryce Harper. Here's what AJ Brzezinski said on the Foul Territory podcast. They had Dave Dombrowski on, and they were talking about today that he doesn't understand why Harper is so upset, and they think that Harper got bad information. Take a listen.
Man, I don't understand what Bryce is so mad about. It feels like he got mad over something that was taken out of context and not really. If you listen to what Dombrowski said, I don't kind of agree with why he's so mad.
I think he got a little bit of misinformation. I think he heard what Joel Sherman said. I think it was on a podcast. He didn't say, oh, I see him getting traded here. He's just saying that there's speculation that he could. It was very, very tame. Dombrowski brought it up himself. Maybe Bryce was listening to the wrong things or like going on speculation things.
Bryce, tune out the nonsense. Eagles fans, tune out the nonsense with A.J. Brown. The Eagles don't want to trade him. It doesn't make sense to trade him. The cap hit is astronomical. They're not going to get fair value. It's not happening. And if it is, I'll say I'm wrong. But guess what? In this situation, Bryce Harper is not getting traded, nor is A.J. Brown. There's enough going on in the world in terms of Philadelphia sports right now where we can find other things to pontificate about. Those two things should not be on the list. All right? Are we good now? Good. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. That's the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Brought to you by White Horse RV Center. Find fall closeout savings. Your RV adventure starts here. Listen to Unsportsmanlike tomorrow morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on 97.3 ESPN. And right there's our contest sounder, 99 bottles. It's your cue to call, 609-573-3776. Caller 7, 609-573-3776. Caller 7 right now. You have a shot to win tickets to see the Eagles take on the Bears at the Link on Black Friday. Eagles, Bears at the Link, Black Friday. Caller 7, 609-573-3776. You must be present to win at Maynard's in Margate if you want to win any of the prizes. But 99 qualifiers, 99 pairs of tickets. That means we have 99 winners. Caller 7 right now at 609-573-3776. You are our next qualifier. You must be present at Maynard's in Margate, 9306 Amherst Avenue. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook and Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Adam Caplan's here today. Don't forget, you can get the the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, Football at 4 daily here on the Sports Bash. Adam Caplan's here today. During the bye week, we got a lot of things to kind of look at. The Eagles offense coming out of the win against the New York Football Giants. We heard from Kevin Pezzullo earlier today. One of the things they got going, Adam Caplan, in that is the run game. So let's take a look at the offense coming out of that Giants game and how it put up 38 points with no AJ Brown.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I was listening to you earlier. I mean, just one thing. We haven't even addressed any potential trade of AJ Brown on our show because we're not going to. These are trying to win a Super Bowl. Yes, they actually have a very good shot to get back there. There are no dominant teams in the NFL right now. In the NFC, the Lions and Packers are very good, which is funny because the next two opponents are the Packers and Lions for the Eagles coming out of the bye. But the Eagles could go on another run here. So look, they're trying to get back. So it's not a discussion. It's just not. But coming out of this game, Mike, it was interesting. For the second straight game, you're seeing Jalen Hurts under center. Look, it's not like they didn't do it last year. They did it with Kellen Moore. It's a change-up. It's not fully what they do. By the way, which Greg Cosell sent me his notes. And what I found interesting is all but one play, Mike, they ran the football with Hurts under center, which is interesting. You can always do play action out of it, but we'll see if coming out of it, they want to diversify that a little bit. But, yeah, it's a change-up, Mike. People overreacted to Pezzullo. I get that. The offense was inconsistent, didn't look crisp, didn't look on time, and now it's looking much better. The pass pro, as we've been telling you every week, it's been phenomenal. The run blocking up to this game has been mostly pathetic. Now, this game, Mike, the run blocking was great. The star of the game, Mike, was Brett Toth. I mean, I don't know where this came from. He's mostly been poor before this game. This game was something that there were a lot of things that happened, Mike, you just could not predict. But a lot of things turned out pretty well, and that's why they had their best offensive output.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at Hurts under center. They ran pretty much all day. They had the pass protection when they did throw the ball 20 times. Guys were open. I mean, guys were wide open. Devontae Smith was wide open. They had some well-designed pass plays to Dallas Goedert. Hurts and Goddard, they got it going there. So You also saw that run game did what it did last year. It set up the pass, and guys were open.
Yeah, it is interesting with Goddard and Hurts. We saw this in training camp, and we've been kind of fooled in the past where Goddard would have a great summer. It's not his fault. Hurts would just not throw the ball to him when he was open, didn't see him. Well, they take another step in their chemistry. Goddard now tied for fourth in the NFL in total receiving touchdowns with any position with 5 other players. So he's in good company. Mike, he's headed for in every statistical category, he's headed for career highs if he could just stay healthy. So he's having a very good season. He caught all 3 targets. 2 of them were touchdowns. And by the way, another thing you talked about their passing game and how they were wide open. This one was not wide open, but Hurts threw it anyway. This is the confidence that Hurts has in his arm. The pass to Dotson could have been picked off, but give Jahan Dotson the only catch of the day, and it was for a touchdown, the 40-yard catch over the kid that they moved from their practice squad. The Giants hit a corner. I mean, Dotson did a phenomenal job, Mike. That was big time, and look, the effort's great, and we need to mention him. Barkley had his best game of the season by far. We've been fooled a little bit in the last couple games where, okay, he'd have a couple good runs. We're like, okay, here we go, and then they wouldn't do anything after that. But not so in this game. He was phenomenal, including the space run that he had, and then the other takeaway, Mike. We'll talk more about this. I'll be back Thursday, not Friday this week. Andrew and I are switching, but we'll talk more about this on the Self Scout. Tank Bigsby has finally got a meaningful role here, and wow, was he special in this game. He was exactly what coaches talk about in a change-up to Barkley. Really good contrast in running styles.
Yeah, and obviously they gave up some picks to get him, and he finally showed why they liked his role in the offense. He had over 100 yards rushing in the game as well. So it wasn't just a Saquon Barkley thing in the run game. Right. You also had over 100 yards from Tank Bigsby in the game. So the offense looks crisp. How about the defense in this game? Because they got bullied and pushed around the first time against the Giants.
And Jordan Davis, he's made this continuing improvement. He's had a couple games where you would scratch your head this season, but other than that, he's been really, really good. Behind the scenes, we've noted before that he would talk a big game but not prove it. It's year 4. He's becoming a little bit of a better pass rusher. That's important because when you trade up in the first round for a defensive tackle, the guys could be a pass rusher. He's getting better at that. He'll never be an elite pass rusher, but he's making some special plays every game. He's in much better physical shape. Watch tomorrow's Inside the Tape on Inside the Birds. We outline one of the really good plays by Davis. Yeah, the defensive line was really good. Carter looked healthier in this game. There's no question about it. He's become a bigger factor. He's not quite where he was last season. He's not close, but he's getting there, Mike. He's improving now. He's getting healthier. The big story is Nakobe Dean playing more snaps than Campbell. We don't have a direct answer, and Vic Fangio kind of discussed it. He didn't really give why it happened, and we talked about that. Campbell still, no matter what people think, he's not lining up as an edge rusher. When he lines up on the edge, it's as an add-in defender against the run. He's not rushing the passer. It still may happen. Right now, they don't think he's ready for it. He's playing really inside backer. That's really what his position is. With a little bit when they play the 5-man front, you'll see him lining up outside. But he's Dean now has cut into his reps. Listen, they're working on this. They've never played together before. This is sort of a quagmire. Fangio's got to figure it out, but it's a good problem to have. They're both two very good football players. And, for Nakobe, the great story, Mike, is he looks healthy. We didn't know. No, the Eagles didn't know. They knew behind the scenes he looked good, but they didn't know until he played how he would do, and he looks really good right now.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, you see Dean and back on the field, and earlier you're thinking, there's no way he could be the same player that he was last year because that injury he had was pretty gruesome, and he comes back from that, and he's been all over the field the last 2 weeks since he's gotten a majority of the snaps, 30 snaps for him, 21 for Campbell. But it's going to be interesting to see when Nolan Smith gets back and Brandon Graham is back, where they even find any –
oh, they'll plenty of reps. Are you kidding me?
Not for those two guys. I'm talking about for Campbell. Where are they going to get the reps for him?
Well, no, Campbell's an inside backer. He's not. He's again. It's the quagmire is Dean versus Campbell next to Bond. That's what's going to happen. Now, let's take what you just said about BG and Smith. Smith's the starter. Okay, that's not up to debate. He goes back and starts. Okay, opposite Jalek's son. So. That's set there. Hunt, by the way, I want to mention, he looked really good this game. It wasn't just remember, sacks, and Vic has talked about this. Can't emphasize this enough. Sacks are individual plays. Vic mentioned pressures. Those are, I could tell you from talking to defensive coaches, yes, sacks are nice. They're technically negative plays. They're cherry on the top. They want quarterback pressures. Did you move the quarterback off the spot? That's how coaches grade. That's the way they think. They don't think like fans do with sacks. And some of the media who don't really get it, they want pressure on the quarterback, make the quarterback move. So Hunt is really getting better. Mike, he's not there yet, clearly not, but he is improving. You love that. So when we'll talk more about this in the Self Scout on Friday, but when BG comes back and he's got to get in football shape, he's not there yet. He'll have his limited role, and he's great at it. By the way, he was great at it. But as BG said, no expectations because he doesn't know at 37 years old what he can do. And then with Nolan Smith, and by the way, they both had the same surgery, triceps. So that Nolan didn't have it. He had the surgery last year, then had the setback. You just don't know, Mike. Could these guys stay healthy? That's why I would not rule out trade for an edge rusher. I would not rule that out. Cornerback is by far the biggest need. That's really not in question. But edge rusher, they'll have enough guys, but will they be good enough at the edge when everybody's healthy? That's the question.
Well, that's the question there, and obviously the other thing is going to be the secondary. He got asked a little bit about Ringo, and he mentioned Jacorian Bennett, and then he went on a little soliloquy about Cooper DeJean as well.
Yeah, you know why? Because the Eagles don't know past season where they're going to line up DeJean. Is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a safety? Blankenship, remember, has not got his extension. This is the final year of his one-year extension. And, Makuba's going to start, but who's going to be next to Makuba for the future? They don't know that yet. So that's part of it. They know that DeJean is a corner on base downs. In nickel, any passing situation DeGene is playing, he's playing the nickel defensive back. He's not a corner. That's not going to change this season. For the future, it might, Mike, but not this season. DeGene is dynamic. He's a super freak athlete. He's dynamic in this nickel role. He could cover running back. By the way, he plays the run. You see him sometimes play up and play the slot against the run, where he's a big nickel. Like he's got really good size, but that's not what you really want. You got to be careful. He's gotten caught up in the wash sometimes playing the run, and then he covers tight ends and he could blitz. By the way, so he's so good. But the one issue, Mike, going forward is cornerback opposite Mitchell. Just think about this, Mike. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But what if Mitchell couldn't play for 3 or 4 games? Could you imagine? It would be ugly. I know somehow Ringo's not been burned over the top. I'm stunned by this. He's given up plays, but they're not getting killed with Ringo starting. And Adoree Jackson, Adoree Jackson would be best as a third, Ringo as a fourth. That's what you want, but they can't do that. They don't have anybody else. Jacorian Bennett, they don't know anything about him because he's been hurt. Cornerback has got to be addressed. They have to address this by the trade deadline. If they don't, it's not for lack of trying. I remember myself and others reported that the year before they got Slay from the Lions, they were very close to getting him from the Lions. The Lions backed out. They decided not to do it. But the Eagles tried, and it's funny, since then, it was Slay, and it's Bradbury, and since then, it's Quinion, and now it's a major question mark. To make a Super Bowl run, Mike, they've got to add a veteran, someone who's been there and done it they could depend on. I know it's easier said than done. It's hard. You got to have 2 to tango, but we'll see what happens by next Tuesday's deadline, and I'll be with you next Tuesday at 4 Eastern.
Yeah, man, and I said it's ironic that they have a bye week, and the bye lines up with the trade deadline, so it's an interesting time, because Vic Fangio said today he has very minimal input.
I was laughing when he said that, brother. I could. He's so funny. But why didn't they follow up and say, well, what's the process? This is how we bring you. I don't know why they didn't ask him. So he said minute because he was very blunt about it. I'm like, well, why don't you follow up on that? I just didn't understand that. But anyway.
Yep, they are. We'll see what happens. They got next a week from today, trade deadline. And, of course, we'll have it coverage right here on Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. He's Adam Caplan. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast, your source for Eagles intel. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
You can get that on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, the Eagles getting ready to take on the Green Bay Packers in 2 weeks from now. And you can hear that game right here on your home for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN. So there's a lot of, little nuances when you look at this defense moving forward that he talked about. One, defensive end, the edge rushing situation. They get Nolan Smith back. He comes your starter. Him and Jalix Hunt. Brandon Graham kind of rolls in there. Josh Uche has played pretty well. You got the linebacking spot with Bond and Dean, and then where does Jahad Campbell kind of fit in? We talked about this yesterday. Campbell made a big enough impact through his first, 6 games of the season when Dean was out that he should have some role in this defense. It is hard to imagine that he just has no role in the defense, but we'll see how Vic Fangio comes together and makes a role for him. I'm intrigued by that. I want to see how that works out because listen, I understand that Dean was a starting player for a team, but he was not on the team in the Super Bowl. He got hurt last year. So they won the Super Bowl without Nakobe Dean. Now, that doesn't mean that they should continue to just say, we don't really need Nakobe Dean. But I do think Jahad Campbell played well enough that he's probably thinking, wait, what the heck happened? Why did I lose my time? So we'll see that story kind of materialize.
I think the interesting thing is that, Mike, as you said, it's not that either guy deserves the playing time over the other. I think it's going to be more about how does Fangio utilize these guys moving forward? Because remember, one of the things that Fangio, if you listen to the press, we played it earlier today on the Sports Bash, which is he kept mentioning OLB. Well, it's outside linebacker.
Yeah, like it was 1997.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike, because Fangio, for as long as he has coached, he has run everything off of a 3-4 scheme. Now, there's a lot of variables that go into that scheme, but there is a way that Fangio can run out there with 3 linebackers and 3 down linemen and have a way to have Bond, Dean, and Campbell all on the field at the same time. Is it now? What exactly does that look like? Listen, that's up for him to figure out. But we have seen schemes get creative in the past. I remember the Baltimore Ravens used to do this back in the day when they would have both Peter Boulware and Terrell Suggs and Ray Lewis on the field at the same time with Bart Scott, and you would be like, "Holy, how do you make all?" Well, they made it work. Why? Because when you want your best players in the field, you just find a way to make it work.
Well, what
right?
you could do is go old school 3-4 kind of look. You have Jalen Carter playing the nose, and then you could have.
I would actually have a Jomo play the nose.
You could,
and
any one of those. You could put Carter on the end there. Have Carter on the end, like kind of like a Reggie White sized defensive end.
Yep.
You could put Jordan Davis on the nose.
Sure.
Or Jomo on the nose. Then you could use Jalix Hunt. You use them kind of like as stand up linebackers, like you thought kind of back in the day, like a Lawrence Taylor or Andre Tippett.
Yep.
That version of player.
You
Your
could
two inside backers, you could have Dean and Campbell,
right,
with Bond and Nolan Smith kind of overhanging on the outside. So there are ways that they could make it happen.
And I think that's where the key is. Fangio's already shown the ability to make these kind of defenses work. I go back to, for those of you who don't remember, he coached the 49ers defense that went to the Super Bowl with Jim Harbaugh. And they had all kinds of great linebackers, right? They had Patrick Willis and Ahmad Brooks and all those guys. And he a lot of times didn't take the linebackers off the field because those guys are so integral into what they were doing.
Well, I'm intrigued to see what he does. As I said the other day, one of my big bye week questions is how Vic Fangio draws up a plan to maximize the talent that he has on defense. 609-403-0973. That's the text board. You can always get involved there throughout the show. Hey, I want to give another shout out to our latest qualifier for this year's 99 Bottles party. The 99 Bottles most recent qualifier, that is Richie in Little Egg Harbor. Richie in Little Egg Harbor. Congratulations, Richie. You were the 7th caller, and we will see you at this year's 99 Bottles party at Maynard's in Margate. Another chance for you to qualify is coming up this hour on the Sports Bash. I'm Mike Gill. Coming up, we got the Nuggets for today. Yes, Knicks Nuggets are coming up. And did the Nuggets make it all the way to the end of the World Series game last night? Survey says. We'll find out coming up next. I did. Did the Nuggets, the young kid, did he make it all the way till 3 o'clock in the morning? We'll see what the Nuggets has. That's next. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. 426 Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill with you till 6 o'clock tonight. Flyers at 6. They take on the Penguins. Listen on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 free mobile app. 6 o'clock puck drop for that one. So right after the Sports Bash, Penguins, Flyers, 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers and the Wizards. Sixers trying to make it 4 in a row with Maxey, Edgecombe, and the crew. We got that game for you here on 97.3 ESPN. The World Series. Who stayed up for the whole shebang last night? I know I did. I was up. I'm the old guy over here. 3 a.m. was when I finally said, it's time for me to go to bed now. I made it to the end. Time for the Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. If you watched Nernshaw Radio last night, you saw a recap of the Sixers. And he joins me now right here on the Sports Bash Live. You can check out Nernshaw Radio on all social media platforms every Monday night, plus the Shift podcast, which you can't have the Shift podcast. You didn't even watch the game.
No, nothing this way. I was no way I was staying up till 3 a.m. getting 3 hours of sleep.
All right, now that you heard about this game, do you regret it?
No, not one bit.
You would not go back and watch that game now knowing what you now know.
Well, I would love to go back and watch the game. Yeah, well, I saw the highlights. I got the itinerary done today. But 3 hours of sleep, I cherish my sleep like there's no tomorrow. I cherish every single second I can get sleep.
Listen, I was miserable this morning waking
I'm
up.
sure.
I was not. But I do not regret watching that game. It was probably the greatest baseball game I have ever watched.
Yeah, I woke up to a text from you in one of our chats, and you're like, that is the greatest baseball game I've ever watched. I'm like, what? And listen, from the highlights, that was awesome. Shohei Ohtani, ridiculous. Freddie Freeman, another walk-off home run. Again, he's the first player, I believe, Major League history have 2 walk-off home runs in the World Series, if I'm correct.
Sounds like it. Sounds good enough to me. I mean, I'm half asleep right now. What are you kidding me? I'm drinking coffee.
See, you're half asleep, but I'm a ball of energy today, Mike Gill. Okay, I got my sleep. I got my Sixers in. Had a good night. The parlay hit after the Sixers game. Oh, man, it was a good night. And if you did tune in to Nernshaw Radio last night on X and YouTube, woo, we had a party talking about the Philadelphia 76ers, and we're going to talk about it. Nugget number 1 here, VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. VJ averaging 25 points, shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three-point range in 3 games so far. Maxey is leading the league in scoring at 37 points, more than Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. Maxey also was talked about in the post-game interview with Kate Scott and Al Abdenabi last night. Maxey has 111 points in the first 3 games of the season. That's the most since Wilt Chamberlain. Only Wilt has more than Tyrese Maxey. That's how good he's been. And you combine VJ and Tyrese Maxey, 186 points. The most points by any backcourt. Any. Not rookies, nothing. Any backcourt since the 1970 and 71 season, Mike Gill. Something's brewing. I know it's October, 28th? But, man, the start of the season's been fun. If this is all we get, so be it. But it looks really good and promising right now. You had a lot of guys out last night. Barlow out, Embiid out, Paul George, McCain. They're going to get those guys back. Embiid's going to play tonight. Second game of the back-to-back. They're going to be in Washington as well. But, man, it's off to a blazing start, Mr. Mike Gill.
Well, the 2 guards are dynamic, and Maxey's taken that next jump from like exciting, fun, joyful player to tough, making shots, kind of killer instinct. Edgecombe's already got it. And the 2 of them have such quick first steps. They're able to go right past their men, and they're both finishing. Edgecombe shooting better than anybody could have imagined. And then, last night you have Adem Bona, who's just blocking shots, altering shots, swatting passes, getting in the pass lane, alley-oop dunks, putbacks. I mean, his athleticism getting up and down the court. It's one of the reasons why people say, hey, Joel Embiid, how does he fit with the up and down nature of, the way this team is kind of moving right now? But that needs to be figured out at some point. I think they just need an Embiid healthy, getting him in the flow, getting him, up and down the court, hitting that elbow jumper. He'll take his 4 threes. Hopefully he hits 2 to 3 here and there. He was 3 for 6 the other night. He was 2 for 4 the other night before that. So if he can get his stroke down, and I think that will be a big aid where if Embiid only needs to get you like 15 to 22 points somewhere in there, and you could still win. If he didn't score 30 most nights, you weren't winning the game. The big thing will be on defense. They definitely need to play better defense. Last night, the paint, they have no rim protection. Bona is a guy who's very athletic and very active, but, Embiid's a difference maker. He just changes the dynamic on defense. And then if you have both of them, that would be a big deal. They are, listen, I tweeted this out last night. They are 150,000 times more fun already through 3 games than at any point of any game last season.
Yeah, I mean, the energy is just completely different, even over the past couple of seasons, right? There's just a fun energy. I mean, Kelly Oubre, he looks like the Kelly Oubre before he got in that accident that we're not going to speak of anymore, right? Like, he looks really good. When you first got him, he was contributing. Tyrese Maxey has taken that next step. VJ Edgecombe, you might call him the savior because he has brought an energy to this roster, to this team that they needed and they desperately did not have. They just didn't have it over the course of the past couple of years.
What he has brought them is a confidence.
Yep.
He has this confidence about him that whether he fails or not, he is going to go down swinging. Like, you're going to have to, put me away. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to go away. You're going to have to absolutely put me out of my misery. And he's almost not, he's not smart enough to realize what he can and cannot do. So he just, last night is a perfect example. It's a 1-on-2, and he saw the 2 guys, and instead of just like pulling it back out, he tries to take it right down the middle of the lane and dunk it on both of those guys. He's like, the heck with you 2. You're not stopping me. He has a confidence about him that this team has lacked big time.
And we talked about it yesterday on Austin Rivers' podcast. Austin Rivers talked about it. He's delusionally confident. That is the perfect description of VJ Edgecombe. That guy doesn't care. There's 4 guys in the lane. He'll still try and dunk all over them, which, maybe not be the smartest thing, but he doesn't care. He'll go right at you. And that's something Ben Simmons didn't have. James Harden didn't really have. VJ Edgecombe embodies that. And the shot, I know he takes a lot of them, but the shot is much better than I think any of us really anticipated.
100%.
The fact that he has that part to his game, along with being everywhere, being so athletic, the spacing has really helped him in the NBA kind of flourish so far early on. Yeah, that he looks special, and I think they got this one right. So it's okay that they fell to the 3rd pick in the lottery this time around. I remember Daryl Morey's head going down viral before the lottery and how nervous they were. I think that worked out pretty good for him.
Hey, listen, that's a great point because remember, people wanted them to take Ace Bailey, and I talked about this before. It took a lot of guts to not take Bailey because everybody said that's the guy. He's the more talented player. Everybody knew who he was. He was the higher-rated player coming out of high school. He had more size, and he had everything that everybody thought this team needed. To be the GM that says, look, I know that he's probably the more popular pick for my team that's really struggling right now. My team's at an all-time low Q rating. I'm going to go with the other guy. And you can make a strong argument right now that of the top 5 picks in the draft, he has been far and away the best guy. Cooper Flagg has been not very good so far. Dylan Harper's been pretty good. Ace Bailey's averaging less than 3 points a game. I mean, he's been terrible. So far, you have hit it out of the park with this pick, coupled with Maxey, who they also drafted. People hate Morey. They think he's an idiot. He's never won anything. He stinks. He drafted Maxey. He drafted McCain. He now drafted Edgecombe. He drafted Adembona. They found Justin Edwards was an undrafted rookie. Now, he's not going to play all that much because the team is better. He made 2 big mistakes that everybody harps on, and you're very fair to harp on those mistakes. But it's hard to fix those mistakes and not have to rebuild at the same time, and it seems that that's what's going on here. They are fixing the mistakes of the George and Embiid decisions on the fly, and so far they've been competitive with those 2 mistakes anchoring them down somewhat.
Yeah, and listen, we're very excited. They're off to a blazing start. 3-0, amazing. Awesome. It is October 28th. There's a long season to go here.
Well,
but
did you
it's
know
a great
they did not
start.
win their third game until November 22nd
I know.
last year?
We talked about that last night. They have not won 3 games in a row. Like last year, it took, almost a month to get your third win. And we were like, they'll come out of this. They'll be fine. They never came out of it, right? Like, that never happened. So the fact they're getting off to a hot start, a good start, is good going forward. But they look competitive. And listen, the East is more open than we think. I know the Knicks are going to be a good team. The Cavaliers are going to be up there. And that's a good Orlando team. A lot of people have Orlando as one of those sneaky teams that's going to be in the mix in the East as kind of elevating themselves this year. They beat them last night, and they didn't have a ton of players. They were missing Embiid. They were missing Paul George. McCain. Barlow got hurt. So they were missing all these players, and they beat an Orlando Magic team. They beat the Celtics in game 1. Obviously, Charlotte on Saturday when me and Cheap Seats Pete went to the game. So listen, they're in a good spot. And it feels like this team is much deeper than they were in years past as well. The fact that they're having these rotations, Eric Gordon could come in, hit a couple threes for you. Old man Gordon, Kyle Lowry, Coach Lowry. I wonder, having him in charge of a lot of these guards and having that veteran presence and him essentially being a player coach type of deal going on, I think that is very key to this whole thing. And just seeing Lowry on the bench, kind of coaching, right? Like he's getting these guys excited. And the fact he's been there, done that before, won championships. He's a guard that was in the league forever, right? Having him kind of mentor these young guys, I think that's an underrated point to this whole situation.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, people complained, why are you bringing some of your old cronies back for Nick Nurse, Lowry, for Daryl Morey? He's been with Gordon a lot. People were wondering, you didn't. In other words, judging the roster that they built based on the fact that you could have brought in younger guys. But sometimes those 2 old guys serve a purpose. And the purpose for this team is Kyle Lowry's more into these games than anybody else. He's up and down the sideline. So, yeah, you're right with that. Gordon showed that he can still catch, shoot, wide open, hit a couple threes. He was 2 for 3 from 3. But listen, the big point here is it's a much better constructed roster. They're way deeper, and all I would say is this. All the criticism that this team has gotten is well-deserved.
Absolutely.
However, if you want to just say, you know what, I've been hearing a lot about this team. They sound fun. Let me give them a shot. You likely will not be disappointed if you just sit down tonight and watch VJ Edgecombe. He wears number 77. For those of you who don't pay attention or don't know who he is, never heard of him. And that's fair. I mean, I don't expect a lot of casual Sixer fans to be sitting and watching Baylor basketball games and be like, hey, this guy looked like he'd be a great pick for the Sixers. He was drafted number 3 overall, and he is so far the real deal.
Yeah, it's been fun. Even if this is all we get, this is the most fun I've had watching the Sixers. I think most people in Delaware Valley would agree in a while. With all the drama that happened last year, it's been too long. And the Embiid thing, listen, stop. I think it was a positive that they brought up on Saturday. I forget who asked the question. I heard you and Hudrick talking about it earlier, that they're playing better without him. That hasn't happened ever. That's a good thing. That takes the pressure off Joel. He needs the pressure taken off of him a little bit. All right? Let the guy come back, get himself. I know he was, I don't think he's frustrated. Obviously, the guy wants to play. The guy's a competitor. He wants to play when it comes to, talking about his minutes restriction and all that type of stuff. Get that guy to the postseason and save him from himself. I don't care if he's upset. I know he's a competitor. A guy who wants to play. And he's not going to want to sit out and watch his team, play in the second half while he's sitting on the bench, right? Every competitor who is fiery would want to do that. But that guy has to be saved from himself sometimes. And we learned that in the article that dropped over the summer on ESPN.
Hey, listen, Embiid, to me, right now, he is kind of happy. He said it the other day, it's only taken 12 years that we can compete without me. I know he's half joking, but I think he understands that, it's a change into the guard right now. And I'm cool with that. These guys are winning. It's fun. Paul said he was in the locker room last night, and Embiid was in there, happy for everybody. I think Embiid, there's a part of him that doesn't mind that maybe it's not all on his shoulders for the first time in a long time.
And I think that's a good thing. That should be looked at as a positive, not a negative that, they need to trade him, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to fit on this team. He'll fit. He'll find a way. He's an MVP. It's a good thing to have an MVP on your team. But save him from himself, follow the minutes restriction, get him healthy for the postseason. That's where it's going to be really key. Because especially when things tighten up, it comes that half-court setting, you're going to want the big fella down low. Just letting everybody know. When things tighten up in the postseason and it's not as run and gun, you want that guy on your basketball team. Just saying. All right, moving along. Enough basketball. That was fun. Nugget number 2. Let's talk about this Bryce Harper situation. And Matt Gill, he put out the article, the report, had the opportunity to get Bryce Harper on the record. I want to play a soundbite from this podcast regarding Harper and what Gelb had to say about Dombrowski and Harper and their relationship. Take a listen to this.
There was something off with his disposition, his mood. It just seemed off, right?
Yes.
And I think that in the organization, that was something that a lot of people observed. And I think within the organization, there are very few people who can openly or even not openly offer a piece of criticism to Bryce Harper. Is that healthy? I don't know, probably not, but that's the structure that has been created. And it just so happens that Dave Dombrowski is one of those people.
So it's interesting. Dave Dombrowski is one of the people in the organization that can hand out criticism to Bryce Harper. He probably doesn't get a lot of it. He's the franchise, face of the franchise, getting paid a lot of money. I understand that. I thought that was a fascinating little nugget from Matt Gill, that he doesn't get criticized all that often. And now he wants to go on the record following those comments, and he wasn't too thrilled with the speculative conversation from the New York Post, etc. Mike, what do you make of this situation right now on how everything's starting to unfold? That he doesn't get criticized as much, and as soon as he gets criticized, boom, it becomes this big deal. What did you make of those comments?
I listen, this whole Harper thing is bizarre that it's gotten anywhere. I mean, to me, Dave Dombrowski got asked a question. He answered the question. I felt there was no malice in the answer. Did Bryce Harper go home this season and say, I was elite this year. I did everything I could. If that's the case, then Harper's delusional, right? Harper understands that he did not have the season he wanted, I'm sure. I think he looks back at his numbers and looks back at some of the moments that he came up in key situations and all this stuff and said, you know what? If I'm better, maybe we're better. Look at this World Series right now. Shohei Ohtani is hitting home runs every single time he's up to bat. They had to walk him 3 times last night, intentionally, 1 time unintentionally, but intentionally, just so he wouldn't swing the bat. You know he didn't swing the bat for 10 straight innings? From the 7th inning to the 17th, he got walked every time he came to the plate.
Yes, I did see that in the highlight package this morning because I wasn't staying up for that. No way.
He reached base all 9 times.
Crazy.
Against the Phillies, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of the boat. And they still lost the series because Bryce Harper and company, they didn't hold up their end of the bargain either. Harper should not be taken aback by any of this. He knows he didn't have the year that he wanted. The proof is in the pudding that his team is watching the Dodgers in the World Series. For it to have gotten to a point where now Harper feels that he's immune to any of this, and he signed here because he thought he was away from that in Washington, and that's why he wanted to get out of there because he couldn't stand hearing the trade stuff. Where are you going to go where you get to a point where you're never going to hear trade stuff in your older years? Where? Where do you think that's happening where you want to compete? You want to go down to Kansas City or Pittsburgh and play there at the end of your career because they're not going to care what they do with you if you're still there hanging out and having a good time. You want to win championships and you want to play at the highest level, you're going to be in places that are going to demand a little bit more. If he thinks that nobody can criticize him, then you're going to have to do something that you didn't do this year, which is deliver in big moments. And unfortunately, he did not do that. I think he knows that. So I don't understand how it's gotten to this point.
I don't either. And it was the fact that he didn't. Gelb explained that Harper didn't like the way Dave Dombrowski said it. He was telling the truth. He told the truth. And he compared him to guys like Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman just hit another walk-off home run in the World Series. That's not a bad comparison there, Bryce. I'm just saying, we criticize all of these other athletes. Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback. Joel Embiid, an MVP. Bryce Harper hasn't gotten it done. So why does he think he can't be criticized? He had a down year last year. I understand he got hurt early on in the season, missed some games. I understand that whole thing. Remember, you were the guy who decided to move to first base. You then elected to have Rhys Hoskins walk. You missed out on that right-handed bat. Bryce has a lot of pull in this organization. They haven't won. They have gone backwards almost every year since that run started in 2022. And he has a lot to say and a lot of pull and a lot of power in this organization. So the fact that he thinks he's immune is absolutely insane to me. It's insane. And Dombrowski wasn't even that critical in my estimation. He laid out the facts. Now, did I think that maybe saying that would cause a lot of this? Yeah, I did. I thought, oh, it's not great that he probably went out and said that publicly. That might be something you say within the organization and talk to Bryce about it. You could have maybe kept it a little bit more in-house, but now this is how it was played out. And frankly, I'm not too shocked that it's gotten to this point. I'm a little shocked that it's gone so over the top where he's comparing it back to Washington and stuff like that. You haven't won anything yet. You had one moment, Bedlam at the bank. You didn't win that World Series, and you've gone backwards ever since. That is the truth. And the truth was he had a down year compared to what he's had in the past.
No question about it. And listen, the one thing that Dombrowski said, and I don't think there was anything wrong with it, listen, he didn't have an elite year by his standards, but can he come back and have an elite year? I don't know. You know, like he didn't say, no, he cannot. He doesn't know. Nobody knows. We think maybe Bryce Harper can have another MVP type of season, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's a guy that hits 270 with 25 home runs and 85 RBIs, and that's what he becomes in his 33, 34, 35, 36 years. That doesn't mean he stinks. It's just not the Bryce Harper that we've all kind of, become accustomed to in the time that he's been here.
I mean, how many times were you sitting around the TV? It was like, I need to get Bryce going. Maybe this is what's going to get him going. And he never really got going.
It bothers me when somebody gets asked a question, they answer it honestly, and then it's like you take offense to the honesty. It's like,
well,
are we on a different wavelength here? Like,
why is Bryce going on the record and then responding to this whole thing? He didn't have to say a word. He didn't have to say a word about it. He could have addressed it with Dombrowski. They could have nipped it in the butt right there, and it would have been done. Why are you going on the record, putting all this out in the open, that you're upset and all that? Why? This in-house. Do this in-house.
The foul territory guys thought that Bryce basically was getting bad information.
I don't know. I did see that. But Dombrowski, he then went out on foul territory and explained, we're not going to trade Bryce Harper, and he clarified his comments.
Well, they're saying that to Bryce, like, hey, Dombrowski was on our podcast, and he said nothing he said was wrong here. Like, I think you're getting, in other words, they thought that what Joel Sherman said on some podcast, okay, now let's whisper down the lane. Joel Sherman said something, then some bozo, and who cares?
And then Earnshaw brings it up on Nuggets that Joel Sherman said this.
Exactly, stuff like that. And Bryce Harper's a different cat, man. I mean, he certainly. Honestly, I think he's kind of a strange bird to be I definitely think he's an odd duck that we don't really know too much about. But I think ultimately he is a little kind of a strange guy that he shows us this exterior of that he is very much embracive of the crowd, and he panders with the cleats and the headbands and the all that stuff. And it makes it seem like he's one of us. But behind closed doors, he is not one of us. He is an odd bird.
Yeah, it's just stunning that this whole situation, those little comments from Dombrowski have turned into this big firestorm at this point. All right, Mike,
Sure
two-pack of nuggets for you. Phil's, a little six, a little positive, a little negative. We switched them. Phillies were usually the positive conversation. Sixers were the positive conversation today.
Game 4 tonight.
Game 4. Sixers.
Game 5 tomorrow.
And Sixers.
I don't know how they're going to do it, man. I don't know how they're going to play
rough.
again tonight. I mean, dude, you were missing it last night. They had Yamamoto's interpreter in the dugout. He had to tell the pitching coach, hey, Yamamoto
I did see that.
He is offering to pitch if you need
18.
him. Like, this is like a kid whose dad is like, okay, if you need him for one inning, you can use him because, the team needs him in this. Yamamoto just throws a complete game 2 days ago. Now he's pitching. They had Shane Bieber warming up in the bullpen. He's tonight's starting pitcher.
We need Phillies players like that. You go 2 days rest. Let's go.
I mean,
in there.
Who's Will Klein coming out of the bullpen throwing 4 scoreless innings, striking out 5? It was unbelievable.
I'm glad you enjoyed the doubleheader last night. I couldn't. Was no way I was making it last night. Not last night.
I hope they don't give me another one like that tonight.
No way.
I can't
Now,
do
tonight
it.
I could. Tonight I could. I would make it tonight.
All right, well,
Pretty
good luck.
far. All right. All right,
see you. There's the Nuggets. They're brought to you by the Hub Gear that works as hard as you do. Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Coming up next hour, one thought every game. KC Joyner. Hey, there's our contest sounder. That's your cue to call right now, 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776. I need caller 7. You know the drill. Caller 7. You're entered for this year's 99 Bottles Party, which means you're already a winner. All 99 qualifiers, everybody wins a pair of tickets to something. One lucky winner is going to win Eagles-Bears club box seats for Black Friday at Lincoln Financial Field. We'll have Sixers tickets, Flyers tickets, and, of course, tickets to awesome concerts and other events all over South Jersey. You must be present to win at Maynard's in Margate on Wednesday, November 26th. If you can't be there, don't take somebody's spot because everybody's a winner, including caller 7 right now. 609-573-3776. Caller 7, good luck. 5:02 Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Time for one thought every game. The Eagles taking on the Packers after the bye week, but they get a win over the Giants. How did they do it? Why was their offense better without A.J. Brown? Was it better without A.J. Brown? Let's find out what A.J. Brown's impact is moving forward here. KC Joyner from The Athletic joins us for one thought every game. Each and every Tuesday, we look back at all the games from the previous week. Week 8 is now in the books. And KC Joyner is brought to you by BMW of Atlantic City. Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional and luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, Egg Harbor Township. Here we go. Let's take a look at it. KC Joyner joins us now for this week's edition of One Thought Every Game. And you saw the Eagles get it going again. They got the running game going. 2 100-yard rushers in the game. KC Joyner and 20 passes, 4 touchdowns. Guys were open. But no A.J. Brown. What do we make of the Eagles' offense in Week 8 against the Giants? Why did it look more fluid?
For a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is that first play with the 65-yard touchdown by Barkley. Talking about Barkley and the fact that he doesn't break tackles very well this year. His broken tackle numbers are 40% less than they were last year. Well, it helps that the safety, I think Tyler Newman in this case, the Giant safety, takes a bad angle and Barkley outruns him. And that's the thing. Hey, if they're going to sit back there, and that's the odd thing is that you're missing A.J. Brown, and they weren't playing the safety down in the box. They're sitting back and playing cover 2. And we've been saying that this year, hey, if you guys are going to sit back and play cover 2, you got to be able to get big runs against them. You got to be able to outrun safeties. He did on that one. And I think that's a big part of what it is that you're making sure that you get good blocking. So it was good blocking. It was Barker being able to get away from people like that. And if you're going to if teams want to play cover 2 and you can run against them, they'll start bringing a guy out of the box and you can get things going your way. So I don't think you want A.J. Brown back, but it's good that they can do what they did.
Well, and they also threw the ball. There was guys open. Devontae Smith was open. Little crossing routes and just little stuff. Simple pitch and catches, things that have been very difficult for this team to complete over the course of the first 7 weeks of the season.
Yeah, if you're looking, say, short passing, too, the Eagles, again, if you're a run team, you don't use the short pass that often, but in this game, Jalen Hurts is 10 to 12 on short passes, 76 yards, 6.3 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 132.6 passer rating. Yeah, you punish teams to say, if you're going to sit there and play deeper and run the ball against her, we're going to do that kind of short passing. Those are really good numbers. But having said that, his vertical numbers, he had a better passer rating of vertical pass in this game. It was 5 of 8 for 103 yards, 12.9 yards per attempt through a touchdown thing. So the Giants secondary has been bad this year at times. They were playing okay coming into this week, but the Eagles showed that, hey, this year, that's the way they are. I can only imagine that they could have scored 50 if they had Brown.
Right. I mean, Brown obviously adds a lot more to the offense. I guess the question I would have now moving forward with this offense, with what we've seen and what they did, how can they build on this thing with Brown? What more can they what's the next layer? Every week you kind of peel the onion to that next layer. What's the next thing you'd like to see Philadelphia incorporate to really make this offense dangerous? Because consider the opponent, I assume, here.
Let's put it this way. You've got Smith on one side and you've got Brown on the other. Brown's going to be probably the X receiver, which means you're usually going to put him in a one-on-one situation, and he can win the one-on-ones. So you could incorporate him back for the one-on-ones. But what this showed, and I guess this is what the really good thing about this game, is I think the Eagles had to play call their way to success more. If you've got Brown out there, that's sometimes what it is when you get up. If you have a guy who can win one-on-one matchups, you just go, we'll just put 3 receivers on the side. We know we've got him single on the other side, and if they don't have a safety over the top, we'll throw that way. If the safety over the top, we'll go to the other side. You let the defense kind of dictate to you what you do. So in this game, it's like, hey, I don't think because we don't have Brown, Jahan Dotson had one catch, but he's not Brown. So it's like, all right, now we've got to play call people open. We've got to use the play calling. And I think it showed that, A, they can do that. Maybe they need to go about doing more of that and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and play call the people open. And then when they get Brown back, then say, okay, now we will go back from one-on-ones when we want them. But you really want them to not just be relying on talent. You want them to get more of the play calling. And I think that's what they saw in this game.
When you watch Jalen Hurts, only 20 passes in the game, but very efficient, 4 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has 20 total touchdowns when you add in his rushing. Yet, he's not gaudy, he's not flashy. He's 10th, I believe, in MVP right now. You watch that game against the Giants and you watch Jalen Hurts. What's your assessment of his role in these wins?
that he didn't press. That when it came to the Giants game, okay, we've got Barkley hasn't been breaking tackles, and AJ Brown is out, and I'm relying on Jahan Dotson. He didn't throw any vertical passes to. Most of his vertical passes went to Devontae Smith. He threw 2 to Dotson and none to anybody else. It's like he's not going vertical. Anybody's got one guy's going vertical too, and it didn't rattle him. He didn't never look like he. And this is a good pass rushing team too. It's a good pass rushing team. Coverage is playing better. I'm missing my top guy. Barkley's not making tackles, and he just cools the other side of the pillow. And it's that sort of thing where if you're the Eagles, it can give you the relaxation of, okay, we know we can go ahead and do some of these other things if we want to, because we know he's going to protect the football and he's going to be able to hit the big passes. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks who got rattled by this, and maybe only a handful of quarterbacks who wouldn't have been rattled by this sort of situation. He wasn't, and it's one of the reasons why I think he should be a lot higher on the MVP list, by the way. So much of that is numbers based, and it's just, look, he's doing what he needs to do with this team, and there are few quarterbacks who could do it.
All right, KC Joyner, let's flip quickly over to the defense because they got beat up the last time they played the Giants, and this time around they won in almost every capacity. They had 5 sacks. Obviously, Dart had not a great day. In the second half, they really shut it down. How did the Eagles' defense factor into slowing down the Giants' offense, which had been pretty good the last couple of weeks?
I think they got right up and said, hey, we're going to take away certain things from you. It was terrible to see Scotty Boo get hurt like that. And mind you, for Dom to go out and deliver pizza and all that to him was a very classy move on that part. But on short passes, I think the number that really stood out is, hey, we're going to get up there. We're going to make sure we're going to take away the easy stuff from you. Dart is 8 of 14 on short passes, 62 yards, only 4.4 yards per attempt. If you're passing them only getting 4.4 yards per attempt, it's not good enough, even on short passes. You better be in the 5 and 6 range to get there. You didn't have any interceptions of things, but still, if you're getting sacks against them and you're taking away their short passes, and now they're going to a backup running back and such, you start to do those things, and game flow starts to go in your situation. And suddenly, the formula the Giants used in that Thursday night game isn't there. So I like what they did and said, hey, Dart, you're good, but you're still young quarterback, and we're going to make you have to do certain things. And Dart did make a lot of mistakes, but it's still one of those things where you put him in a pressure situation. He didn't have the people around him to take care of it.
All right, Eagles defense, a big part of it. And obviously the first time they played, no Jalen Carter, no Quinyon Mitchell. That helps out, too, having those two guys back out there. Jalix Hunt also played well. We'll see what happens when Nolan Smith is back. He should be back after the bye week. Let's get into one thought every game in week number 8, which is now completed in the NFL. I can't believe we are moving so quickly. We're into the November part of this. Not a great week. Not a lot of games, but some separation playoff-wise. Let's take a look at some of the things. Dolphins 34, Falcons 10. How about this? The Falcons, the Dolphins come off the mat when people wanted to bury them, and they buried the Falcons.
And the Falcons' defense have been playing well. Cousins looks terrible. They held Bijan to 25 yards on 9 carries. That's just ridiculous. Who had it in them? I don't have any idea how to figure out this team. They're so hot and cold that sometimes they look like they're the worst team in the league. Don't even care. Sometimes they play better. I have no clue. It's got to be a frustrating thing for McDaniel because his coaching future is determined on if this team decides to show up. But when they do decide to show up, look what they can do.
One thought every game. Again, it was a weird week with all the different matchups in terms of who wins and why. But the Bengals, if they would have won, we would be talking about a fun NFC North. Instead, they gave up a 39 spot to the 1-7 now Jets.
They have done a terrible job of developing defensive talent. They've drafted a bunch of people. I was just reading about an analysis of this. They've drafted a bunch of people, and nobody's panned out. And just you can change your coaches. Anarumo's doing just fine in Indianapolis. He's doing fine there. They just don't have the talent on this side of the ball, and you just can't win shootout games. Flacco's good, and you got, again, Chase had 23 targets 2 weeks ago, 42 targets in 2 games for Jamar Chase, and he's doing great, and you still can't win because your defense is that bad.
One thought every game. KC Joyner from The Athletic. Let's go to the Patriots are 6-2. Drake May, 3 touchdowns. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks. Wasn't enough. They get beat 32-13.
Cleveland, trade him now, today, immediately. Get what you can. Seriously, he could be the Fred. I'll go back old school. Fred Dean was a big guy who turned the 49ers runner to Bill Walsh, and Walsh got him because he'd just grown up with the Chargers, and it was a key to them winning a first Super Bowl. I'm telling you, some team needs to go try to Cleveland. If you think you're going to make a Super Bowl, make a deal now, because I bet they'd make the deal. And by the way, Drake May is now 3rd in the NFL MVP odds chart, and he's that good. And I don't think he's no longer Costco Josh Allen. He's playing. I would argue he might be playing better than Allen this year.
All right, good stuff there when the Patriots are in first place as we hit the 8-game mark. One thought every game, the team behind them, the Bills. They put up a 40-burger against the Panthers. James Cook, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and oh, by the way, Josh Allen was pretty good too.
Josh Allen is good. He's just, again, only 163 yards passing. He only had 7 yards rushing. When we've got James Cook running for 216 yards, you don't need to throw the ball. And that's the thing. I think the Bills are less worried about trying to rack up numbers for Allen and saying, look, we need to get on our super run. This was a potential trap game for them, and yet they came out and they really stepped their foot on the gas. Carolina's been playing pretty well, and Buffalo just blew them out. It shows that Buffalo's really focused. It's a good harbinger for this week's game against the Chiefs.
One thought every game. Ravens, what's going on there? They come off the mat, 2-5 now. Baltimore, the Bears look like a team that was finally getting taken serious, and then they lose 30-16 to Baltimore.
Well, Baltimore again, 21 carries for Henry, 8 for Huntley, 4 for Mitchell. I mean, they're just doing lean heavily on the ground game. They had a really effective passing game. That's a big plus for them. And the Bears, their defense is not that good, and their offense is, Williams is still hit or miss, and Ravens have gotten a lot better in defense of late. I mean, a lot better. Early in the year, they're worst in the defensive league. They're top 10 at this point over the past few weeks, so a big difference for them.
One thought every game. Let's go to right when you thought the Niners were starting to come impressive. C.J. Stroud, 318 yards, and the Texans beat San Fran 26-15.
He can only win with the backup quarterback for so long. Mac Jones is not really set to be a star, and he's banged up too. I don't want to take too much away from him because he's hurt, and the receivers are still hurt. But the Texans, you could tell what they did. They just said, look, Christian McCaffrey, we're just not going to let you beat us. We're just going to, and they got a lead to help them to lean on that. And McCaffrey only gets 25 yards rushing on 8 carries, so they got away from what the 49ers needed to do to win. But give the Texans a lot of credit there because their defense is playing pretty well. But the Niners, they got to get Brock back because this is not a team that can go far off Jones.
All right, one thought every game. Buccaneers, they keep pace with everybody in the NFC. They go on the road, 23-3, kind of a yawner there, but the Saints fall to 1-7.
They do, and finally Spencer Rattler. He had been doing. You wondered. You knew what his floor was. What's his ceiling? I think last week showed that his floor and his ceiling are pretty much the same for him. Now they're benching him, so the Saints have got problems there. But give the Bucs credit because that's a team where hey, that's it might be hard for them to get fired up to play those guys, and they're banged up and such. They still came out and set a high level of performance. So Bucs, when they get healthy, they're going to be a real dangerous team.
One thought every game. Let's go to Broncos and Cowboys. Cowboys defense obviously shredded in that game. They had some injury issues there, but the offense couldn't get anything going either, and they lose 44-20. The Broncos are now 6-2.
The Cowboys just can't help for getting into shootout games. They're undefeated when they score 37 or more points. Though. And the thing is, a shootout game, in my estimation, is when each team scores 24 or more. So you should be able to win some of those games 27-24. I think so. The Cowboys, if they don't get to 37, they're just not winning. And they're not going to do that against the Broncos in Denver. And Nick's playing really well. The Broncos now looking really good. By the way, I wrote about R.J. Harvey for my article at The Athletic this week on Monday. You can check it out at The Athletic. He got those touchdowns in large part because the Broncos tailored plays to his skill set. And if they can keep doing that because he has a different skill set than Dobbins, they keep doing that, he's going to keep playing like that. And wow, the Broncos could be even better than they are.
One thought every game. It is the Colts rolling again, 38-14. The Titans have been a miserable team to watch this season, and the Colts have been a joy.
They have. Chamari DK had a good game for the Titans. He's somebody who was sitting on waivers and all that and things. So they got a couple guys there, but the Colts. Why is Jonathan Taylor not in the top 3 in the NFL MVP odds? I have no clue. He's just phenomenal this year, and it's like it's this anti-running back bias. You just can't get a running back to be up there. He should be right up there with the top players and things. And Daniel Jones, hey, the Giants had him pegged for what he was. They just couldn't build something around him, and the Colts have built something around him and things that the Colts that. I don't think people think they're as for real as they are. This is a team that can win the AFC.
All right, well, you're definitely intrigued by them. They got a good defense, too, everybody out there. It's not just, and by the way, Daniel Jones might be part of the reason why, but he's been playing pretty well, too, not turning the ball over. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. Packers 5-1-1 as they beat the Steelers 35-25 on the road, and the Packers are still the number 1 seed in the NFC.
The Steelers are known for having a predictable defense, just certain things that they do. It's why a lot of times they get slot receivers beat them because they're always going to play a certain way against them. They think it works, and it does, and they've been successful over the years and things. But going into the game, it's like, hey, they're going to the Packers knew we're going to go to Tucker Kraft. We're going to do he's going to be a focal point of our offense. The Steelers couldn't do anything to stop it, and that they didn't make a change to do it. Just like, Steelers, this formula is getting old. You're a 9-win team every year, and this is what you're going to be. And the Packers, hey, that they saw the weakest good attack, and it shows it's the difference. They've got creative coaching, and the Steelers don't.
All right, one thought every game. It finishes on Monday night with the Commanders. Really couldn't get anything going offensively, and the Chiefs. Everybody keeps saying the Chiefs are back. Well, they win 28-7. Mahomes slings 3 touchdown passes.
He had 89 yards passing and 2 interceptions in the first half. It had a terrible first half. The Commanders said, hey, we've got this going. It's like, yeah, but you guys have Mariota. You're not going to keep up that way. You don't have any offense because the Chiefs' defense is playing lights out. They're stopping the run like nobody in the league. They're just fantastic against it. And their secondary's playing. They haven't played badly all year, but they're playing really good right now. And Mahomes in the second half, he goes from 89 yards passing, he gets just short of 300, he gets 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's what they could do. They're the best halftime adjustment team in the league. So, we're going to find out this week, though, with the Chiefs and the Bills. I mean, I think the Chiefs are for real and things, but this is going to be, we'll see where they are and things. But right now, these teams are both playing exceptionally well. It's going to make for a fantastic game on Sunday.
All right, that is one thought every game. We didn't go to the Thursday night. Let's get that one real quick. Chargers-Vikings, because the Chargers, obviously, Carson Wentz, he's now done. That whole situation, J.J. McCarthy's back. But the Chargers' offense finally looked like they were back, 37 points, and their defense looked like they were back.
They did. Mincher's a really good defensive coordinator, and Wentz was banged up at the shoulder injury, so the Vikings offense is shaking. I think it's going to remain shaky. McCarthy, he's still a work in progress, but you got Vidal. Imagine if the Chargers get some of the running backs back. They get even healthier at the running back position. That's going to be good. They get production out of Patterson, and they've got now 3 really good receivers because McConkey, adding Gadsden, who's now doing fantastic. So they've got 4 receivers they can go with. I mean, they're a very dangerous squad. I think they're going to have to win too many shootouts at times and things, but the Chargers, I mean, it's a team that if they got news, they could go beat anybody, including the Chiefs or the Colts or anybody in the AFC in a playoff game because they can put up that kind of points.
All right, that's one thought every game. We'll do it again on Thursday. Looking ahead to week number 9, which starts on Thursday night with the Ravens and Dolphins. Yuck, a terrible Thursday night football game, but a little bit better of a Sunday slate. There were 6 teams on the bye last week, and you can read more from KC Joyner at The Athletic. And, of course, one thought every game right here on the Sports Bash. Casey, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, there's KC Joyner here on the Sports Bash. And, of course, KC Joyner's One Thought Every Game every Tuesday and Thursday is brought to you by our friends at BMW of Atlantic City, where your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings and experience luxury today at BMW Atlantic City in Egg Harbor Township. What's going on, everybody? I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. You can watch the show, be a part of the show, text the show. Listen on the free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City, of course, and be a part of the show in a variety of ways. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. 0973. Text board is open. A lot of text messages. We'll hit those. We have who's in, who's out, who are the 14 playoff teams. Did you stay up for the World Series last night? Let's update the poll question. Did you stay up for the whole thing last night? We asked at Mike Gill Show, did you watch Game 3? Yes, but not to the end, 41%. No, you did not watch, 39%. Yes, till 3 a.m., 19.5%. So, looks like a lot of people did watch the game. Some made it to the end. Others bailed out early. I made it all the way to the end last night. How about it? We'll read off your text messages, and we'll do who's in, who's out next on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 527, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Hey, don't forget the cue to call is coming this hour right here on the Sports Bass Live. Get another chance for you to qualify for this year's 99 Bottles Party. Phyllis in Dennis Township was our latest qualifier for this year's 99 Bottles Party. It's time for this week's edition of Who's In, Who's Out, brought to you by Jenkins Plumbing and Heating for HVAC, plumbing, or drain cleaning. 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com. All right, let's see what we got here. Josh, who's in, who's out in the AFC East? Who you got?
I know they're technically not in the lead, but I'm going the Bills.
You saw enough from Buffalo. 5 straight for New England, by the way.
I think long-term Buffalo has the staying power. I still have questions about the Patriots long-term because for as great as Drake May has played, he's kind of been doing it Donovan McNabb 2001 style where he's just kind of like distributing it to anybody who possibly could get open.
Well, I mean, they do have Diggs, who's not the same player, but he gives them a pretty good wide receiver.
He's had good moments. That one catch he had this past Sunday was pretty impressive.
They've won 5 in a row. And by the way, their defense has given up 146 points. It's the same amount of defense the Bills have given up in one more game.
Which is funny because if you were to ask who has the better defense, you would theoretically say the Patriots, right?
I'm saying, though, the Patriots have given up the same amount of points, and they've played one more game.
Right.
So that's showing you that the New England defense is better than the Buffalo defense is a problem.
Yeah.
Not this past week, but generally.
Generally.
I'm going to go with Buffalo as well, but I think New England is definitely for real.
I agree.
North. I mean, this one's tough. These 4 teams stink. Can Baltimore get Lamar back? They're only 2.5 back. Can they get Lamar Jackson back and just overtake this and win the division at like 9-8, 10-7?
Who do you think has the worst defense?
Cincinnati.
Well, then Baltimore should be able to get past
Here's Baltimore. Miami.
Win.
Minnesota.
Is that at Minnesota or at Baltimore?
They have 3 straight road games here.
Okay, that's
Miami,
a loss.
Minnesota, Cleveland.
That's a coin flip.
The Jets.
That's a win.
Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland. The Jets, Cincinnati.
Coin flip.
Pittsburgh.
Coin flip.
Cincinnati.
Again.
New England.
Nope.
Green Bay.
Nope.
Pittsburgh.
I still only have 3 wins on that schedule.
No way. They got Miami, Cleveland,
Miami's
the Jets.
a win. Cleveland's a coin flip.
If you got Lamar Jackson back, I think they could beat Cleveland, the Jets, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. I think the only games where they would be an underdog right now would possibly be at Green Bay.
Definitely.
And you're like Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't bother me at all. If I have Lamar Jackson and they got J.J. McCarthy, I feel pretty good about that. I know their defense has been a problem, but I would not rule out Baltimore in that division with a healthy Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't know if he's going to play Thursday night. Now, quite frankly, on Thursday night against Miami, they might not need him.
They might not need him. That's true. I mean, they won this past game, surprisingly, against the Bears, and the Bears had a lot of problems that game.
And they played decent defense in that game.
They played but to me, the bigger issue was Baltimore's offense looked functional without Lamar.
Yep. Well, they had Huntley in there who at least mirrors a lot of the things that Lamar does as opposed to Cooper Rush.
Yeah, Cooper Rush, no.
So there's a part of me that wants to go with Baltimore here. I think Pittsburgh stinks.
I mean, I'm sticking with the Steelers just because I just think that they're a better roster. That makes sense?
Watch, Cincinnati will win.
Right, well, Joe Flacco.
Their defense is terrible.
Joe Flacco's going to lead them.
I'm going to go with a Week 8 Baltimore. I think Lamar, if he's healthy, they can catch Pittsburgh and surpass them.
You realize that if Joe Flacco pulls off this magic trick with the Bengals, he will have now led 3 different teams in the same division of the playoffs.
That's pretty wild. AFC South, I got the Colts.
Colts are arguably the best team in the conference.
That's what KC Joyner's been saying. In the West, I've been going Denver. I'm sticking with Denver.
I'm sticking with Denver, too. I still think that I think it's going to be Denver's defense that gets them there. Nothing against Knicks, but I think that Knicks is going through some growing pains, some of these games.
Wild cards. I got Kansas City.
Me too.
I've got the Chargers.
I also have the Chargers.
And I've got New England.
And so do I. We're pretty much chalk here.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of options over there. Your only other legit options if you like a second team in the NFC North, if you think Jacksonville can get involved. Houston?
Does that Houston win impress you at all?
No.
Okay. I tried to sell you, but you shot me down immediately.
NFC. Philadelphia is 3 wins ahead of Dallas. They are 2 losses because of the tie.
Yep.
And Washington, with the loss last night, they are 3 full games ahead of Washington in the NFC East. I got Philadelphia.
Me too.
I'm sticking with Detroit in the North. I have not left that one in terms of the Packers still being ahead. I think Detroit will beat them the second time they play.
I'm sticking with Green Bay. I'm holding that line until I'm proven otherwise.
Tampa.
I agree. By the way, how bad did Kirk Cousins look on Sunday?
Yeah, he was terrible.
That was horrible.
The Rams. I've been going Rams in the West all year.
I have been going 49ers. I am also going to make the change. But, Mike, it is not the Rams. I'm going Seattle.
Okay, you like Seattle. I got the Rams. By the way, the Rams defense has given up 117 points this year in 7 games. Seattle's is 136. So the Rams defense has been very good. They just made a trade for Roger McCreary yesterday,
Tennessee,
right?
yeah.
All right, wild cards. You need 3. This is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you find 3?
Green Bay.
I got Detroit.
Seattle.
And I have the Rams. So we basically swapping division leaders here. The third one is where you kind of...
Yeah, the third one, it's either San Francisco, Dallas, Chicago.
How much did that loss by Chicago on the road hurt?
That hurt them.
Yeah.
That hurt them. I mean, Washington, I think, is done. I mean, look at Jaden Daniels back here, but...
Could they go on a run with Jaden
3-5.
Daniels?
Seattle.
Is that at Seattle?
No, it's home.
Okay, so they can win that game.
Detroit.
That's probably a loss.
Miami.
That's a win.
We can win that game. Denver.
Is that at Denver?
No.
Okay, that's
They
could be a
play
win.
4 straight home games? 1, 2, 3, 4. They do. They play 4 straight home games.
Wow, good for them.
Then at Minnesota, at the Giants, home against Philly, home against Dallas, at Philadelphia.
I foresee 6 wins on that schedule, so I can see them get the 9 wins.
Okay, 9.
But is 9 enough?
I don't think 9's enough.
I'm going to pull up San Francisco's schedule real quick, and we can go through that because I have San Francisco written down.
What
but
about Dallas? Here you go.
All right, you pull up Dallas' schedule, I'll pull up the 49ers schedule.
Arizona.
That's a win.
At Vegas.
That's a win.
Philly.
Loss.
Kansas City.
Loss.
At Detroit.
Loss.
Minnesota.
Coin flip.
Chargers.
Loss.
At Washington.
Probably a loss.
At the Giants.
Can we say if Jaden Daniels wins?
Yeah, late in the year is going to be wonky because the Eagles could be 2, 3, 4 games up on these teams.
Yeah. Because if the Eagles just sell their guys the last week of the season, that could help one of these teams get in.
Yeah.
All right, here's the 49ers schedule. You ready? Giants.
Probably a win. Where's that game?
At New York.
Okay.
Home against the Rams.
Tough. I mean, division game, but I like the Rams better than I like the Niners. Who's the quarterback?
Right, that's a good question. At Arizona.
Those teams out west are always weird. The Cardinals end up beating teams on the road sometimes. It's wonky out there.
Home against the Panthers.
Like San Francisco.
At Cleveland.
Good. I mean, they should beat them.
Bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Week 14 for San Francisco. Then the final 4. Home against the Titans.
That's a win.
At the Colts.
Tough one.
Home against the Bears.
I like San Fran.
And then their final game is a home game against the Seahawks. who they beat earlier this year.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're still halfway to go, but we're getting better pictures. That's Who's In, Who's Out, brought to you by Jenkins & Sons Plumbing, Heating, and HVAC. For HVAC, plumbing, drain cleaning, call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandson.com.
By the way, what is your perspective on basically the Vikings murdering Carson Wentz's career?
Yeah, that whole story's kind of weird. I mean, he
apparently he's been dealing with that shoulder issue for weeks, and then he made it way worse on Thursday night.
Yeah, I guess the thought process of he would have gone to them and said he could not play if it was that bad of a problem, maybe? I don't know.
Well, what I read was that basically Wentz had been saying, I can fight through it, and basically after Thursday they told him enough's enough.
Well, he got pounded on Thursday night, and then, the whole thing, he was throwing his helmet. He got criticized by Herb Street, who said, you can't show that, this is bothering you. The guy's playing with him, busted,
But it's more than that. This is where Herb Street was wrong when he said that, which is the fact that, listen, I have been as much of a critic of Carson Wentz as anybody, but that guy has tried to play through so many injuries, okay? I mean, that guy tried to play through a broken back. That guy tried to play through a broken wrist. That guy tried to play through multiple knee injuries. The guy is basically a walking science project at this point for some medical school, and he keeps coming back. And, he hasn't played great for the Vikings, but he's had a modicum of success at times. He's basically been at least serviceable for them, and I can't get mad at the guy for being frustrated because his arm is killing him.
Yeah, I think, they were saying he was trying to protect the other two guys by not making them play because they were banged up. I mean, it is a weird situation out there. We're not really close enough to.
And can I also say really quick that the Vikings are the team that Wentz grew up as a kid loving. That's the team of his childhood. This has been a dream of his. He said it in an interview that his dream was always to play for the Vikings. He finally gets his dream. And there's probably a part of him that's like, I'm going to die on this field for my team.
Yeah, that's true.
And his career's died on the field.
It's over. Let's transition back to the baseball game last night really quick. Some of the things that game was unbelievable last night. We do want to get into, because last night you saw a lot of these decisions that were coming into play in these games, right? The Dodgers are basically out of pitching. They have nothing left last night. They had to possibly go to a position player. Now, do you go to a position player in that moment, or do you hope that one of the starters? Well, Yamamoto apparently offered to pitch. So they had Yamamoto warming up.
Yep.
And
then the Blue Jays had Bieber warming up.
And the Blue Jays, whose starting pitcher tonight is Shane Bieber, he starts to warm up.
Yep.
But throughout the game, Ohtani got intentionally walked 3 times and then basically intentionally walked a 4th time. Have you seen these knuckleheads saying you shouldn't be able to intentionally walk a guy more than 1 time in a game?
What?
Yeah.
It's called strategy.
So should in basketball you can't double team like the star player more than once or twice in a game? He has to get one-on-one coverage the whole time. Like on a goal line play, should you not be able to run a goal line defense? What are we talking about here?
I mean, during the Atlanta series, when Ben Simmons couldn't hit a free throw, should the Hawks have only been allowed to foul him once or twice and then let him just score the rest of the time?
It's absurd to have that opinion.
It doesn't make sense. It's called strategy.
Then they walked Ohtani and Betts back to back.
Yeah, that's called trying to win the game and not lose.
Yeah. Well, we talk often about all these strategy situations, and we were talking about this in the first hour of the show. I was listening to the Nothing Personal podcast with David Sampson, and he was talking about the pitching decisions that have been made in these playoffs, specifically one in the Seattle-Toronto series that has the Blue Jays here. Many people think that this pitching decision could have changed the dynamics here. Here is what David Sampson said on the Nothing Personal podcast.
I want to remind everyone, decisions about your bullpen usage are discussed before the game starts. Scenarios of which pitchers you want facing which hitters at which parts of the game, that is discussed and decided.
So that goes to the moment when the Mariners in the 6th inning decided to go with not their was it the 6th or the 7th inning, not to use their closer in that moment, Munoz, and instead went with Brizardo in that spot. And it makes you think back to all the decisions that you're watching over the course of this game. And he says it's not Dan Wilson, the manager, who made that decision. Take a listen.
Do I think that Dan Wilson, the manager of the Mariners, during Game 7, said to himself, I've got the best bullpen arm maybe in baseball. I've got the top of the lineup, Springer, Guerrero coming up. I've got a 2-run lead. I hadn't considered this situation. Folks, that's like the number one consideration you would start with when you're going through game planning. A 1 or 2 run lead, late innings, top lineup. Who do we want?
And I'm thinking about that podcast last night when Sir Anthony Dominguez is in the game. Remember our old buddy, Sir Anthony Dominguez? And I'm thinking to myself, how did they decide that Sir Anthony Dominguez was going to be the pitcher who started that inning knowing that Ohtani was the second hitter in the inning? And he throws them. And by the way, they go to the mound and take a mound visit.
Right.
And then he throws him a center cut fastball right down the middle of the plate that Ohtani crushes out of the park. But my thought is, why is Sir Anthony Dominguez even pitching in that spot? And then I'm listening to this podcast with David Sampson thinking, well, they must have made the decision that he was going to be the guy that comes into that spot no matter what. And I'm thinking, you really wanted a right-handed pitcher, Sir Anthony Dominguez, to face Shohei Ohtani? Because in that inning, you go back to, what was that, the 7th inning, I think that was? What inning? Let me go back and look at that one real quick because the game was, 18-minute innings long. I got a little tired at 3 o'clock in the morning when I finished watching that thing. When did Dominguez come into that game? Dominguez came in the game. There you go. Yes, in the 7th. So it's a 5-4 game. And for the life of me, I'm like, why is Dominguez in the game here? Pages starts off a right-handed hitter. Ohtani's on deck, followed by Betts and then Freeman. Now, I get it. Like, Pages, the guy who had 27 homers during the course of the year, and who else are you going to go to in that spot? I don't know the Blue Jays bullpen like the back of my hand, but I don't know. They possibly could have tried to find one of their lefties that came in late in that game, Lauer, who gave you 4 innings. Now, I'm imagining they didn't want to use somebody like that early enough in the game. But you had Ohtani coming up in the 7th inning with a 5-4 lead. That goes back to the decision in the Seattle series where they didn't use their closer in that spot.
Right.
And that's why that made me think of that podcast where he talked about it, because that's what everybody was just arguing then, that they should have brought their closer in that spot there. But you have Ohtani there, and if you can get Ohtani out in the 7th, right, that he comes back one more time in the 9th inning, but you got to get that out in the 7th with a 1-run lead. You can't worry about the lead, what happens in the lead in the 9th. You got to get it there in the 7th. Fun game last night. Awesome stuff. Game 4 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up, we'll close out today's show. We'll get last thoughts. And don't forget, 99 bottles. One more chance to qualify today. All right, 5:52, getting ready to get out of here. Sixers tonight, right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll be watching Sixers over to World Series. I have the World Series. I'm in. I'm invested. I stayed up all 18 innings last night. You can't lose me now. I'm not going to lose you now. Though I do think the Blue Jays are in a tough spot tonight. 18 innings, you'll lose the game. No Springer. I haven't seen their lineup. I'm imagining Springer's not in the lineup. And you're facing Ohtani tonight. So now Ohtani essentially has a chance to just end this thing.
If he can.
If he can.
Well, he might be tired. He might not get the best of
Tired
Ohtani
for what?
tonight.
He walked 4 times. He walked every.
He said after the game, I want to go home and sleep.
Everybody did. It was 3 o'clock over here.
Right. It was what, 12
It was
there?
late over there, but still. Come on. I think your best bet of the night, Ohtani. Over. Strikeouts. Whatever. I think the Blue Jays offense is shot right now. Without Springer at the top, that just makes it an uphill battle for him. He's kind of the engine that runs the thing. And then, last night they're taking guys to pinch run. I hate that. I hate when you pinch run for your star players. I hate that.
Still makes no sense to me, but what do I know?
Well, I mean, and then you pinch ran for Kirk with another catcher.
Right.
So it's not like, I get it, like the other catcher maybe is a little faster
Marginally
than him.
faster?
I just don't like that decision. I don't know. And I didn't like I didn't like the Dodgers hitting for Kike Hernandez last night to bunt. I don't mind the bunt in that spot, but I don't like bunting with the 8-hole hitter to get to the 9-hole hitter. That move I don't like. But I don't want to hit for Kike Hernandez because the guy's been so clutch. It's just something I'm just not all that interested in. I can't wait for the game tonight, though. You can listen to that game. Flyers-Penguins, the puck drops in about 6 minutes. That's going to be on Rock 104.1. So if you want to tune into the Flyers on Rock 104.1 or the Rock 104.1 free mobile app, that game's at 6. The World Series will pick up right after the Flyers, and then the Sixers will be over here at 7 o'clock, followed by the World Series. That'll pick up about 9:30 here on 97.3 ESPN, all right? That's going to be it for me. Got the best of the Sports Bash coming up next. Tomorrow, we'll talk to you right here. But first, I didn't forget you. It's 99 bottles. You want to win tickets to see the Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, concert tickets, and more? Be caller 7 right now. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7 right now. You are entered for a chance to win Eagles Bears Club Box tickets for this year's Black Friday game at Lincoln Financial Field. You must be present to win any pair of tickets at 99 bottles, and that's going to be at Maynard's in Margate, 9306 Amherst Avenue. What a great spot for this year's 99 bottles party. Can't wait to see everybody out there at this year's 99 bottles where you can win Eagles Bears Black Friday Club Box tickets. Caller 7 right now. 609-573-3776. Good luck.